first place. He put hard times on Dusty Rhodes and his family. You don't know what hard times are, Daddy. Hard times.
West here reporting from Houston, Texas for Climate Desk. Now, one of the biggest uncertainties in climate science right now is the role of clouds. What better way to work that part out than flying right through them? That's what NASA scientists aboard this airplane think. Welcome to NASA's biggest airborne laboratory. You're coming with us today on an 8-hour NASA flight mission.
When you read these big IPCC climate assessments, what's the biggest uncertainty? There's two, right? The role of aerosols and clouds. Clouds is probably bigger than aerosols.
That is a piece of a puzzle that right now we are missing.
You can't get the models right if you don't understand the chemistry and the process.
Now we're being told we've got to get on. The doors are about to shut, so let's go aboard. Every time you turn on the weather, every time you hear a climate change prediction, that information has to come from somewhere. And it starts by getting sucked out of the air from planes like this.
So this mission is to try to understand the emissions from the surface, so mostly biogenic emissions, so from trees and other plants.
Right now we're flying to our very first part of this experiment on the DC-8. Over Arkansas, there's a particularly pungent bouquet of emissions that scientists are interested in measuring.
Well, these emissions lead to both aerosols and to molecules that both destroy and create ozone. So these are very important things to understand for climate studies.
How it will manifest itself, it will be in more accurate and more reliable predictions.
So what we're doing is taking a series of flyovers, each at a different level of the atmosphere, scooping up those emissions, testing them, and hopefully scientists are going to see exactly what's in this column of air all the way up.
The data that we collect in one flight can keep busy 60 scientists and students for 3 years, 4 years. We're still studying data from data collected 20 years ago.
In fact, this particular mission today is its most heavily equipped in its nearly 30 years of service. Each one of these consoles here is a specially equipped scientific instrument designed to collect all sorts of different data in real time.
And this instrument here tracks the sun.
We're looking at mist chambers. They're used to strip soluble gases.
This black line is the CO2. It's about 390 ppm right now.
We're putting these filters in the bags that we've got the aerosols that we trapped out of a certain amount of air. And so we're here about 150 liters a minute.
That ultimately flows back into the operational models. It flows back into what goes on TV every day.
Anyway, I got to get this sample going.
You do it. It's a busy man at work. We can't let him rest. Well, get this. We've just spent 2 hours crisscrossing this one cloud formation. In, back out again, back in again.
Then they grow, and we track them as long as we can, and then we let it go.
Even one cloud can hold a host of answers to the mysteries of climate change.
The patterns of, where the clouds are, what type of clouds we see, what kind of weather systems they're associated with it, that'll all be shifting in a shifting climate, in a world with climate change.
Then the big spark is when we actually get the meat on the grill. And then it will be some time to process it.
All right, here we go. That magic time when the pledge drive continues and we ask for your help. And, so many of you have, and we appreciate that very, very much. And one regular viewer of Free Speech TV who lives not too far from the studio here was kind enough to come in today. He's been a very generous contributor to Free Speech TV. Craig Kellerman lives on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., and Craig, thanks for stopping by.
It's a real pleasure to be here.
Now, what do you like about free speech? I know you're a big fan.
I have been a huge supporter. When I first got to D.C., there, of course, was the Wall Street Journal, the main myth machine for corporate America and for Wall Street. But then there was suddenly Roger Ailes and the Fox conglomerate. And they are major myth makers, probably better than Homer. They rapidly and cannily took over the TV stations, the press, in a way that had not been envisioned by liberals. Mm-hmm. You had Rush Limbaugh. You had Fox News, and Fox News purveying itself as real news, when in fact they were making their own news. It was absolutely outrageous, and there was really no other outlet for liberal news or for news in general. Yeah. And the lovely thing about Free Speech TV was it was news that was also truth. It wasn't just a liberal slant. It was real news. And the first antidote, if you will, that we had to Fox News, Rush Limbaugh, and it's a crucial antidote because they have, let's face it, a decade jump on us, at least a decade's jump.
Yeah, right.
They have been out there for a long time doing what we're just starting to do. And your program most admirably, but also Amy Goodman, Tom Hartman, David Packman.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful journalists who are getting the word out there. And it's a different word from Fox, principally because it's truth.
Well, that's so good of you to say, and it's great having loyal friends and supporters and viewers like you around the country. What is your message to other people watching about helping Free Speech TV?
Give, and I'll show you what I mean. I'm surprising Bill with a check for $1,000.
Oh, my God.
Craig. We need $1,500 a day, and it's we, you out there and me, we need Free Speech TV. So my challenge to you viewers out there is if just five of you will give $100, we will meet his $1,500 a day goal. So we need to do this together. Okay, folks?
All right. Can't thank you enough. You heard it. I can't say it any better than Craig Kellerman has said. And you know how to do it. You go to 877-378-8669 or to freespeech.org. Craig.
And give.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It was great being here. Thank you for having me, Bill.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It's me, kiddos. Clinton Yates from the Washington Post, filling in for Bill. It's Friday, June 12th, 2015. I want to thank everybody for tuning in early on this very hot day in the District of Columbia, right here on Capitol Hill, where we do the show from. If you're watching on Free Speech TV, on DirecTV, or on TawkrTV on YouTube, you can see my shirt. It's a very nautical theme today because it's a little chillier in the studio than it is outside. But again, thank you for tuning into the program. You can like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Of course, we're always tweeting at BP Show. And you can listen to us on the iHeartRadio app as well as the TuneIn app. Told you who I am. I will tell you who's with us. Peter Ogburn is here to my right. Hello, Peter.
Clinton.
How are you?
Happy Friday. I'm doing well.
Happy Friday to you, too. Across the glass is Elisa Murphy. Hello, Elisa.
Hey, good morning. Happy Friday.
Cyprian Bolding is handling the video today. Yes, and in studio with us is one Jamie Benson. Good morning, Jamie.
Good morning, sir.
How are you?
I'm good.
Okay.
Good.
Now, the reason why Jamie's in studio is because we did a little Team Bill Press field trip yesterday.
We sure did.
And we went to the congressional baseball game. Now, I met up with Peter and Jamie at Nats Park. And if you don't know what the congressional baseball game is, basically Republicans play against Democrats. And it's an interesting night at the ballpark.
It is an interesting night at the ballpark.
Shall we say. Peter, what was your experience like last night?
First of all, it should be said, this is one of the nicest baseball experiences that you could have because
absolutely,
there's probably 1/10 of the crowd that you'll normally deal with at a baseball game because it's local, it's staffers and things like that fill the stands. So there aren't a ton of lines at the food stands. It's really easy to get a beer, and nobody takes anything super seriously.
Right.
So
Jamie,
it's nice.
What was your favorite part of the night?
I mean, aside from it being incredibly hot and somewhat unbearable,
it was bad.
It was pretty brutal.
Obviously there was a newsworthy item. President Obama showed up.
Yeah.
So I think that was special. From as far as we didn't, I guess, fact check this fully before we came on air this morning, but we can't recall another time that President Obama has actually come out to one of these.
Right. Yeah. I don't think he has. I've been to a couple of them. I don't think he has.
My favorite part was the fact that he came out right as Mr. Paul was taking the plate. And I'm telling you, listen, I've been in a batter's box a couple of times in my life, so to speak.
Yeah.
But there ain't anything more intimidating than POTUS just looming in the midst while you're sitting there trying to hit a baseball.
Rand Paul struck out.
Oh, absolutely struck out. Of course he struck out. There's nothing else you can either hit it out or you strike out.
We have to point out that the president who was there missed a major opportunity.
This is true.
He showed up right as the racing presidents were about to start running.
Let me lay this out for those who don't know. The racing presidents are a tradition they do at Nats Park, not dissimilar to the sausages in Pittsburgh. I believe there's another one. Basically there's 5 presidents who run, and there's usually some sort of ridiculous hijinks that happens. Somebody gets knocked out of the crowd or they do some ridiculous bit. But the president came out right when they were doing it, and I thought to myself immediately, you have to involve POTUS with the racing presidents.
Right.
Alas, he totally big timed him.
Yeah,
I was not impressed by that at all.
No.
It was not good.
No. He could have jumped into that racing president's race.
He could have. Do we even know who won the game?
I do. The Democrats won.
Yeah.
5-2 was the final score. This is the 5th year in a row that Congressman Cedric Richmond from Louisiana has led the Democrats to victory. He's their pitcher. He used to play for Morehouse College. He's a legitimate baller.
Right.
So 5-2 was the final score.
Any final thoughts, Mr. Benson, on the night last night?
I also want to add, as you and I were leaving Clinton last night in the 6th inning, the only female playing in last night's game, Rep. Linda Sanchez from California, entered the game as a pinch hitter.
Oh, nice.
She brought a single into right field.
Nice.
That was that big roar.
Good to know.
Good
to know. All right. Well, I interviewed her, and so I'll have more from her
later.
More to come. Right. That's a tease. All right.
Like
Thank you, Jamie.
Of course.
We got a lot going on today, but first.
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news while we're talking sports. Let's go to the NBA, where last night we saw Game 4 of the NBA.
I thought you were going to say we saw something else.
Oh, we saw a lot last night.
Yeah, saw a lot. We'll get to that later. Go ahead.
The Golden State Warriors taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers, with Golden State just ran away with this one. It was not close. 103-82 was the final score. The third quarter saw the Cavaliers actually make it competitive, but the fourth quarter, 27-12 is how they scored that fourth quarter. That was clearly enough to put the Golden State Warriors way out ahead. Who had the biggest night last night? Andre Iguodala had a huge night, 22 points for Iguodala. Steph Curry also 22 points. LeBron James, 20 points, 12 boards, 8 assists. He's having a monster finals. This is
not a whole lot more he can do.
He can't do much more than that.
Not a whole lot more he can do.
But unfortunately, he's stuck with not
Cavs have
a
problems.
great rotating cast.
The Cavs have problems because when you're at home, here's the difference. Bench players play better at home.
Yeah.
That's why they're bench players.
That's right.
The Cavs bench players have not been nearly good enough.
That's right.
And that's the reason why the Cavs can't seem to get more than one step ahead in this series.
I'm so bummed out about this series because I wanted to see LeBron, Kyrie, Kevin Love.
Yeah, it could have been a real star power
against Golden State. So it's bumming me out.
It's sad.
Yeah,
it's true.
Is that why you guys left the game early last night? Because you had to go see the NBA game?
It kind of was.
It was part of the reason.
Besides the fact that it was hot as balls outside. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
It's
disgusting.
Yeah, I wanted to watch basketball.
Yeah, exactly. Eva Lovia and Johnny Sins are two porn actors. They have a contract with Pornhub, and Pornhub wants to shoot a movie with them in space.
What?
Oh, my goodness.
They have started an Indiegogo campaign. They are crowdfunding the first ever sex tape shot in space. Now, they have this all laid out. They need $3.4 million is what they need. And they have it, like I said, laid out. 60% of that will be for the space flight costs, 5% for post-production, 6% for pre-production, lots of other things like cast and crew and insurance. They say, again, they need $3.4 million. I just clicked on the link where you can contribute, and they have already reached, in 2 days, $13,941.
I have a lot of questions.
Yeah, right?
I have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Is this a remake of Spaceballs, I guess?
No, but first of all, don't you have to train to be in space? You can't just send a jabroni up in a missile and expect them to be able to operate, outside of the orbit of the Earth. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's one way to up your resume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
all the zingers.
Boy.
Secondly, pardon me here, but what happens when you're done?
Yeah, right? I know. I have
what
so many
happens
questions.
in a zero gravity situation when you're done? That's crazy. Anyway,
I
would consider giving money to that.
100% give, not a ton of money to that, but I'd give money to that.
Right.
I'd watch that.
You give him $5.
I'd watch it.
Yeah, I'd certainly watch it.
Yeah. I mean, I've watched way worse.
Wow.
And yesterday, Pizza Hut announced their latest monstrosity. It is the Hot Dog Bites Pizza. You have to see this to believe it, so I'm going to tweet out a link at BP Show so you can take a look at it. The way that they describe it is, quote, a large one-topping pizza featuring 28 premium hot dog bites baked into the crust. It's served with a side of French's mustard. The picture is god-awful. It's little mini pigs in a blanket that make up a crust.
No.
And then pizza in the middle. Do not eat this.
I don't understand this, right? Listen, hot dogs and pizza are very old school. They have established their lanes as crap food. If this were going to work, it would have worked 100 years ago.
That is
I don't understand
so
why anybody is now. This is not fusion cuisine.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's hot dogs and pizza.
Right.
I just don't get why now. Why now? I don't
Garlic
understand.
bread crust pizza.
Okay,
I get.
Okay,
I'm
right.
not going to eat it.
I'll even go with your cinnamon bread crust.
Sure.
If you want to get out in those streets, do that work.
Sure. Stuffed crust, I get it.
Okay, but
cheese on cheese.
Hot dogs?
Hot dogs.
A hot dog is a hot dog.
Hard pass.
Pizza is pizza.
No thanks.
Apples and oranges.
Not going to eat it.
Anyway, thank you. All right. So after we left the game and I got back home, A little story blew up my Twitter feed last night that I'm just going to read directly from the headlines from. Dateline, Spokane, Washington. NAACP leader Rachel Dolezal falsely portrays herself as black, family says. Now, when I first saw this headline, I was sort of like, okay, I don't really know what that means. I'm not exactly sure I understand the context of why or how one would falsely portray yourself as black if people could, look at your face. Then a lot of different things started coming out. As it turns out, she's an African-American history teacher. She does all sorts of things in the black community in Washington. And beyond the sort of ridiculousness of the notion of trying to falsely display your ethnicity, or rather your phenotype, if we really want to get into this, is the fact that she was claiming she was being abused for being black and receiving racial threats. And there's a lot of people that just don't believe her and think that she's making this stuff up on her own, which, listen, there's a lot to unpack here. But Peter, what were your first thoughts when you saw this story?
I saw the story and I go, first of all, I didn't understand exactly what was going on. Right? Like, I just didn't. And then I saw the news story where they're showing photos of her as a young woman. And
Little House on the Prairie.
Exactly.
Yeah, straight up.
Straight up.
Straight up.
I mean, she's a white girl in those photos. And I'm just thinking, I just don't get it.
I don't understand
get it. It's so weird. And so the photo that's at the heart of this is there's a photo of her, and there's a black man next to her, and then there's a white guy next to him, and then a white woman on the other side. Those are her parents.
Yes.
The two white people.
Who outed her.
Yeah.
By the by.
Yeah.
Who told her, told the world, our daughter is Caucasian.
Yeah.
Don't you forget it. She has been falsely portraying herself as black for years, they claim.
And she put this photo up because, look, she looks like she could be of mixed race.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
Absolutely. There's no denying that she's done a pretty good job.
Yeah.
As far as that is concerned. Which is frightening.
But the African-American gentleman that she's standing next to, she claimed that was her father. On Facebook, she said that is her dad.
What?
And so you put two and two together, there's this black man and then this older white woman. And yeah, of course, you can see.
You can see how that could happen.
Parents.
Ugh. We got a couple clips from her. Let's hear her talking in an interview she did with ABC from a while back on whether or not her dad was black.
Wondering if your dad really is an African-American man.
That's I don't know what you're implying.
First of all, that's a very awkward answer. I don't know what you're implying when it's a yes or no question is not exactly a very sensible route to go. And then she also said, when asked if she herself was African American,
are you African American?
I don't understand the question.
No. Let's play a little game of are you African American or not? Elisa, are you African American, yes or no?
No.
Peter, are you African American, yes or no?
Got to think about this
you
one.
Need a lifeline?
Can
you
I
need a lifeline? Regis.
Of course
Hit him
I'm
with
not.
a lifeline. Please ask me the question.
Clinton, are you an African American?
All day. Okay? All right, you can result to Kanye West for what I might have said. We weren't on a radio show. But this story is completely insane. Let's not get this twisted. Give us a call, 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. I need to know what you think about Rachel Dolezal and her alleged attempt to be black. There's a lot that we're going to very seriously unpack in the next segment about this, about sort of what it means to be trying to be phony and be black in America in 2015. But give us a phone call, 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. I just don't get it.
It's a crazy story.
I really just don't get it. Anyway, I'm Clinton Yates, filling in for Peter, for Bill here on a Friday. I know that was weird. Man, I'm black. It's the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, friends and neighbors, good show so far. A little time out here for a most important message. And I got one big word for you today. Please, please, please make your pledge to Free Speech TV. Look, we're really frustrated. I'm feeling frustrated because we're toward the end of our pledge drive and just nowhere near the goal where we've got to be. And I know you don't want that to happen. I know you don't want Free Speech TV to run out of gas. We know you love Free Speech TV, but we're not feeling that love, not seeing it. We're just nowhere close to our goal, not hitting the mark. So I ask you to please don't put it off any longer. Step up to the plate, make your pledge as generously as you can to help us meet our goal. Remember, our goal for every show here on the Bill Press Show is $1,500. Hey, that's not that much. Think about it. You know, it's 15 of you. If 15 of you give $100, we're there. 30 of you can give $50, we're there. Or think of it this way, the price of one night out for dinner for the two of you, you got a whole year of the great programming on Free Speech TV. But it really, really is urgent because, once again, you are Free Speech TV. We are, you are, there ain't nobody else. There's no government funding we can count on, no foundation funding, no corporate funding, no Koch brothers funding. It's just the partnership that we've got, and we've really got to keep that going. And we'll try to make it worth your while, just to give you a little maybe incentive to help us out today. Remember our premiums this time. If for $60, we'll send you this, for your one-time pledge of $60, this stamp, not to be used for bribing politicians. You can have a lot of fun with that with your friends. $120 can help us with that. We'll send you a copy of John Nichols' book, Dollarocracy, about all the evil of money in politics and how we get rid of it. For $240, you get the stamp and the book. And for $360, you get the stamp. Can't be used for bribing politicians. Dollarocracy by John Nichols, and a Free Speech TV baseball cap. If you can help with $1,000, a real special treat, come to Washington, see the monuments, get to the White House, get to the Capitol, and most importantly, Carol and I will take you out to dinner at one of our great restaurants on Capitol Hill, and then invite you in to join the crew the next morning, meet the team, have some district donuts, and enjoy the show. But the most important thing is we need your help to make your pledge as generously as you can. We know not everybody can do all the same, but whatever you can, your one-time pledge for Free Speech TV. Don't be a freeloader. Don't be just a couch potato. If you enjoy the programming, and we know you do, then do your share to keep Free Speech TV on the air and keep me and Stephanie Miller and Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Packman and all the rest of the great Free Speech TV hosts in your home every single day. Please help. Please do it today. You know the number, 877-378-8669, or just go to freespeech.org. Please help, and we thank you.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Welcome back to the program. My name is Clinton Yates. I write for the Washington Post, and I'm filling in for Bill here on a Friday. Thank you all for tuning in. Rachel Dolezal is who we're talking about today. She is a woman from Spokane, Washington, who is a leader of a local NAACP group there, who people say has been disguising herself as black for years. The story is completely bonkers, if you ask me, and there's a lot of jokes to be made about this, but let me explain to you why this is actually, in fact, quite problematic. In America, black people are not given the same treatment as white people. We see this through things like redlining. We've seen things like this through racial profiling. We've looked at things like how many black men are put in jail versus the rest of us. There are all sorts of things, including the war on drugs, that genuinely affect the safety and freedom of black people across the country. So to think about the agency and the difficulty and legitimacy there's been in certain people trying to gain a foothold in legitimized society, specifically black women, very specifically black women who are most generally the worst treated group of Americans in the country. And this woman is not only falsifying what she believes, not what she believes, but she is and appears to be trying to cash in on both sides of the equation, utilizing her white privilege to also somehow imply that she's being discriminated against because she's black. It's like this weird inception thing.
Yeah, I know.
That I can't even really unpack. That I don't know that anger is even the word, because I mean, it's not going to make me angry how somebody chooses to self-identify. But when you're out here dogging other people for the decisions they make, you know, talking about, oh, Tyrese is going to get with a white woman and all this other crazy stuff, you're like, whoa, what are you? Hold on. It's just really, really bizarre to think that she felt the need to do this in order to get her point across. You don't got to be white to work for the NAACP. White people started the NAACP. You know what I mean? Like it's just, it boggles the mind to think that she fetishized the black woman's cultural existence to the point where she felt the need she had to not only enjoy it, but entirely appropriate it and steal it. That's frightening.
It's really hard to put into words. I think you just did a very, very good job of putting it into words, because saying she wants to have it both ways is the easiest way to say it. It's totally cliche, but she's trying to have it both ways. You can't live a life that she's lived and then all of a sudden put on a show like this. The amount of just of how disingenuous this is, is what really sits poorly with me.
Right. I mean, and again, it's not just about sort of what she looks like.
That's
it's
an issue, but it's not a very big one.
The main issue, and it's not about the fact necessarily that she's working for the NAACP.
Right.
It's about the fact that she's trying to convince people she's something that she's not. And people want to talk about trans racism and wrong skin. I mean, okay, whatever. That's above my pay grade. But in this situation, I can tell you this. She went to Howard for a while. I guarantee you, nobody at Howard University thought she was black.
Yeah.
I don't know how she got away with that for that long. I'm Clinton Yates. This is the Bill Press Show. Still black.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, folks, just a little time out. Hope you're enjoying the show today. A little time out here to tell you again and get your about Free Speech TV and get your help. And, you know, we reach out to you, all of our viewers around the country, during these pledge drives, ask you to help. And we're so grateful when you do. And it's very rare, though, we get a chance to thank one of you actually in person. So we welcome to the show today and to our studio Craig Tepfer, all the way from Chelsea, Michigan, a regular Free Speech viewer and a very generous contributor to Free Speech. Craig, it's good to see you.
It's good to be here, Bill.
Thank you for coming in all the way from Chelsea, Michigan. I know last year we met because you were made a $1,000 pledge. You and your daughter came. Carol and I, we all went out to dinner together, had a good time. That was a lot of fun.
Had a great time.
Right. And it's good to see you back. So tell us again, why do you really like Free Speech TV?
Free speech to me is the dream come true. It's television without commercials, plain and simple.
Yeah. And you like the people and obviously in the content on Free Speech?
All of the regular programs plus all of the special programs you can't find anyplace else on the television set.
It's the one progressive television channel people don't realize is maybe in the country, right? 24/7, where you can always count on going there and hearing good stuff from a progressive point of view.
This is true. It's 24 hours a day. All of the programs are great to watch, intellectually stimulating, and have great progressive concepts.
Well, we wouldn't be here without people like you, and I want to thank you again personally. And you're back today because you want to make another pledge and challenge people to meet it, right?
That's right. I would like to pledge a half of my net worth, 0.5% of my net worth, to match the Koch brothers' donation to the GOP. So I am committing $500.
Great.
To the Free Speech TV, and hope that your listeners can match that.
I think that's a great challenge. All right, so there you go. There's $500 from Craig Tepfer today. You can match that yourself, or a couple of you, 2 or 3 of you, get together, get your family members together, and match this pledge so Craig doesn't feel alone. And we have the help we need on free speech to get going. And, of course, you know the way to do so, Craig, you certainly do, is give us a call at 877-378-8669. Number again, 877-378-8669. Or just go to freespeech.org, freespeech.org. And, Craig, the other thing I want to congratulate you on, you are a pioneer in solar energy. I know you have a solar-powered car right now. So you're doing so many great things. You know,
I've been doing this for most of my life, wind and solar energy, and supporting environmental groups and organizations that promote solar energy.
Well, so good of you to do that, and so good of you to come in. And thanks again for your help for Free Speech TV. And match Craig Tepfer's $500 grant. Thank you, Craig.
It's so important. Thank you.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
What up, kiddos? I'm Clinton Yates. I write for the Washington Post, filling in for Bill here. It's Friday, June 12th, 2015. Talking about Rachel Dolezal and everything that comes with her private identity versus her public identity. 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Peter, you were just talking about off the air in the break, the side-by-side photograph of her at a younger age versus her at this age. It is really quite remarkable. Did you tweet it out? Tweet it out.
Yeah, I'll tweet that out.
On the BP Show. You can follow us on Twitter at BP Show. Look, and again, there's a lot of serious stuff here. There's a lot of very comedic stuff here. And last night, I was up an extra hour just reading tweets on the timeline because it was just too funny.
And we're at BP Show on Twitter. You look at her when she was a younger woman. She has blonde hair.
Yeah.
She has fairly pale skin. And it looks like freckles.
I guess.
And then you look at her today where her hair is completely different.
Yes.
She's a darker shade of skin tone.
Yes.
Which, by the way, I don't know how she got there. I don't know if she is literally putting on blackface.
I don't know. I mean, there's no way for me to know that, but
something's going on.
Yeah,
there.
something's going on.
I mean, look, I can speak with limited authority on this, but something is going on.
Yeah,
there.
I mean, I don't need anything else to make me look more black, so I don't really know what people are doing in this situation, but there's a lot of interesting things that have been brought up. We'll get to in a bit. 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Robert in South Carolina, good morning.
Yes, under the current circumstances, why would any woman in America not want to join an organization like the NAACP?
What do you mean? What are you getting at?
What am I getting at? Women are second-class citizens, in essence, aren't they?
Yeah.
So the NAACP helps protect second-class citizens, does it not?
In some regards, I'm not sure I'm understanding what you're inferring here.
Well, women don't have the same rights as men. Do you agree?
Yeah, go on.
Where are you going with this,
All right,
Robert?
let me reflect on the way my mother was abused, and I was small. I couldn't do anything about it. But in 1949, my father, living in the military, divorced my mother. But as I understand it, the state of South Carolina didn't recognize the divorce, so he was free to come back when he was through with his philandering. That's one thing I think that is abuse.
All right, thank you, Robert.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Robert.
the phone call. 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-3777. I just want to get your thoughts on what you think. I mean, look, so first of all, there are a lot of questions I have for this woman.
Yeah.
Number one, what is in your refrigerator? I need to know. All right, I need to know, because if I go in your fridge and I'm finding that's a big test. In the freezer, I need to know what kind. Because I want to know really how far this went.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That is a phenomenal
Because
question.
if you're going to be out here teaching everybody about African American studies and all this other stuff, that's fine. You know what I'm saying? People do that. This is not, listen, white people have been trying to teach people about black people in various ways, including teach black people about black people for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
But if I go over to your house and you got glory greens, you know what I'm saying? And ham hocks in the freezer, like that. I'm fascinated by this notion that it's possible that people just gave her the so-called benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And like what
That's actually a really interesting point, because aside from how funny it is,
right. Yeah.
But like, people who lie and carry on like alternative lifestyles, right? They create a fake identity for themselves. They tell the lie so fully and completely that sometimes they even believe it, and it becomes everything that you do revolves around selling that lie. So it really does get down into the weeds of things like that.
George Costanza, it's not a lie if you believe it.
That's right.
And if she, that's why there's so many different things here that I wonder on, which is that, first of all, that interview with the ABC, like, how did that come about? Did somebody just say, oh, she's not black anyway? Her parents came,
somebody had to have, like, this is the thing with this day and age. Somebody grew up with her, and somebody saw her somewhere and said, I knew you when you had blonde hair.
When you were white.
And freckles. Yeah, when you were white.
And one of the reasons, too, it came to light is because she applied in the city of Spokane for the police commission.
Right.
She wanted to serve on the police commission, and that's pretty startling in this day and age with that whole dialogue we're having with race relations and police, to think of a white person trying to promote themselves in a certain way.
Being a white person trying to be a black person to try and get a job on the police force in this day and age is stunning.
It is befuddling. And look, if you're trying to be better, if you're trying to deal with police being better towards black people, why don't you do so as a white person?
You can do that.
Because obviously that's a little bit more effective than black folks trying to, advocate for their own cause. And I just don't this is so mind-boggling on so many levels. 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. And you look at these pictures, and you're just like, you could have fooled me. I got plenty of people in my family that look just like her.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And it's just, I just can't stop looking at these. Here's a photo of her at a Black Lives Matter rally. With the hair extensions, the braids.
We have to say, she's deleted so much of her stuff off of social media.
No,
Facebook,
last night was a treasure trove.
And Twitter.
I was so deep on her old Facebook page. And there are like YouTube videos she's got. There's all sorts of stuff. She was hosting Tim Wise, who's one of the preeminent speakers on white privilege. A very smart guy, by the way. I actually wonder what he thinks about this.
That's a good
but
point.
like this, this is the height of privilege, where you think you can live by the rules of someone else whilst It's listen. This is a totally different matter than a couple of idiots at, let's just say, insert your sorority or fraternity here, dressing up in blackface.
Oh,
for a frat party.
No, that's stupid.
That's stupid and idiotic. And people know that it's wrong.
Right.
But I think that we've moved to another level here with this. I mean, this woman legitimately was trying to pass herself off as a black woman.
And did so successfully for a while.
Successfully for many years.
Yeah.
Look, I want to call my mom. Like, that's actually what's actually going on. I want to know what my mom thinks about this. You know what I mean? Because I'm just stunned. I don't know. I got nothing. I don't have much more.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be really anxious to see what happens next. Because she can't keep running from this.
She can't hide.
She ran from this interview. She literally ran off from the interview.
Walked away from the camera.
So there's no explaining this away.
I just don't get it.
Yeah, I want to see how deep she takes this and where she goes next.
So one of the funny things that came out of this was this notion of receipts, which are, if you look this up, #black receipts, which are white folks posting pictures of them, not white folks, but like people of mixed race, posting pictures of them with their black parent from back in the day, showing proverbial receipts about where their heritage is from. This is just careened out of control. I mean, we talk about post-racial America and all this other stuff. It's about as post-racial as it gets, so to speak. Transracial, whatever you want to call it. It's it's mind-boggling. It's truly,
you have to show proof that you're black now.
Yeah,
you have to show proof that you're actually black.
And shouts to my man Adam Serwer, who kind of started this, who posted a bunch of pictures of him with his family, because he's a mixed race dude who's rather light skinned, and he started a lot of this. And I'm just like, we're taking a lot of steps backwards here.
Yeah,
in terms of a lot of different things. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I'm done with this. I'm done talking about this. I appreciate everybody who called and all that, but I just can't. I can't anymore. We got to get into more serious things.
Yeah, it's so much. Holy cow!
Are you an African American, Peter Ogburn?
Has anything changed while you've been in the studio?
What are you implying? What are you implying is the answer that she gave when they said, "Is this a picture of a black man? Is this your father?" What are you implying?
I'm implying you've been lying about your dad being black.
Are you an African American? This interview is over.
Yeah, I just don't get it. All right, look, we gotta get out of this segment. My head is going to explode.
And going.
It's going to explode.
Man.
I'm Clinton Yates. I'm an African American male born in the District of Columbia.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
All right.
We're broadcasting this show, the Bill Press Show, from on Friday. Goodbye.
This is the...
All right, friends and neighbors, good show so far. A little time out here for a most important message. And I got one big word for you today. Please, please, please make your pledge to Free Speech TV. Look, we're really frustrated. I'm feeling frustrated because we're toward the end of our pledge drive and just nowhere near the goal where we've got to be. And I know you don't want that to happen. I know you don't want Free Speech TV to run out of gas. We know you love Free Speech TV, but we're not feeling that love, not seeing it. We're just nowhere close to our goal, not hitting the mark. So I ask you to please don't put it off any longer. Step up to the plate, make your pledge as generously as you can to help us meet our goal. Remember, our goal for every show here on the Bill Press Show is $1,500. Hey, that's not that much. Think about it. It's 15 of you. If 15 of you give $100, we're there. 30 of you can give $50, we're there. Or think of it this way, the price of one night out for dinner for the two of you, you got a whole year of the great programming on Free Speech TV. But it really, really is urgent because, once again, you are Free Speech TV. We are, you are, there ain't nobody else. There's no government funding we can count on, no foundation funding, no corporate funding, no Koch brothers funding. It's just the partnership that we've got, and we've really got to keep that going. And we'll try to make it worth your while, just to give you a little maybe incentive to help us out today. Remember our premiums this time. If for $60, we'll send you this for your one-time pledge for $60. This stamp, not to be used for bribing politicians. You can have a lot of fun with that with your friends. $120 if you help us with that. We'll send you a copy of John Nichols' book, Dollarocracy, about all the evil of money in politics and how we get rid of it. For $240, you get the stamp and the book, and for $360, you get the stamp. Can't be used for bribing politicians. Dollarocracy by John Nichols, and a Free Speech TV baseball cap. If you can help with $1,000, a real special treat, come to Washington, see the monuments, get to the White House, get to the Capitol, and most importantly, Carol and I will take you out to dinner at one of our great restaurants on Capitol Hill, and then invite you in to join the crew the next morning, meet the team, have some district donuts, and enjoy the show. But the most important thing is we need your help to make your pledge as generously as you can. We know not everybody can do all the same, but whatever you can, your one-time pledge for Free Speech TV. Don't be a freeloader. Don't be just a couch potato. If you enjoy the program, and we know you do, then do your share to keep Free Speech TV on the air and keep me and Stephanie Miller and Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Packman and all the rest of the great Free Speech TV hosts in your home every single day. Please help. Please do it today. You know the number, 877-378-8669, or just go to freespeech.org. Please help, and we thank you.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. My name is Clinton Yates. I write for the Washington Post, filling in for Bill Press here on Friday. On the line, we've got George Zornick, who is the Washington editor for The Nation, and you can find him on Twitter at @GZornick. Good morning, George.
Hey, good morning. Good to be with you.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. So I'm reading your story here that you wrote yesterday, headlined, "The Case Against Fast Track." For those of us who do not, understand what that is, please just lay this out for me.
Yeah, I think, it often gets confused with TPP, which is in itself a really confusing big 12-nation trade pact. But in some ways, Fast Track is even more important because basically what it does is it says for the next 6 years, Congress gives up its right to amend any trade deal, and it also lowers the vote threshold in the Senate from the usual 60-vote threshold down to 50. So it puts any future trade deal, and there's actually about 40 of them coming down the pike, on sort of a glide path to passage. And so a lot of Democrats are nervous about this, not only because they have concerns about TPP, but because they don't know for sure that Scott Walker is not going to be president in 2 years and isn't going to propose this awful trade deal, which will then be on fast track, and there's nothing they can do about it.
The president has notoriously not had a great relationship with members of Congress for a long, long time, but he has, so to speak, put on the full court press here on this and was really out fighting for it yesterday, right?
Yeah, they have really, really, really been pressing Congress on this. About a month ago, I interviewed Sherrod Brown, and he was not too happy about all the pressure that was coming for the White House. He said far and away it was the most that he's ever seen them lobby Congress in his time in office, and he said, he was wishing that they had done the same on minimum wage and on, making Dodd-Frank stronger and all these things. So, they're really, really putting on the full court press because it is, as you know, it's mainly actually Democrats who are against this deal. Republicans, a majority of them will vote for it, will vote for fast track. And it's just a matter of how many Democrats can they get to go along, because there is a small group of Republicans, maybe even only 20, 30, 40, who will vote against it just because they don't want to vote for anything that Obama is for.
You said that obviously this is not the same as TPP, but it affects TPP.
Yeah, once this is passed, it's almost a lock that TPP would pass later this year, probably sometime late summer, early fall, because with 50, where a Republican-controlled Congress, Republicans like the trade deal, it would just be a simple majority vote in both houses. So unless, we obviously have the text of TPP isn't out, no one really knows what's in it. It's possible that it could come out and everyone in Congress could just be like, heck no, like there's no way, and it could fail a simple majority vote. That's possible, but it's not very likely. So tomorrow is not just about the future 6 years. It almost guarantees that TPP will pass. And that's what's got Democrats so upset, because they're being asked to essentially get halfway to passing TPP, and they're not even totally sure what it says yet.
I'm curious, George, and I don't know if you have any insight as to how the president is rationalizing this to the Democrats specifically, because, I mean, you've mentioned and we've talked about this a lot, that this is a real problem for a lot of Democrats. And what's the argument the president's making to them specifically?
At the top line, he's just saying, look, me, I'm out here. He'll list the Health Care Act and the stimulus, and he says, don't listen to sort of organized labor and the progressive activists. I would never do anything that would hurt middle-class jobs. You just have to trust me. And in many ways, he's sort of playing on his name and his legacy.
There's a lot going on these days, by the way, with the president of the Just Trust Me, by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's coming in and he's got, I think the sort of sub-message is, look, I'm almost out of here. I've been disrespected and obstructed for 6.5, coming on 7 years now. Give me one last victory. That's sort of the other message is, this is the last thing I'm going to be able to get done in Congress legislatively as president. That's big. Just do this for me and don't deny me this power and disrespect me that most other presidents have had. Most other presidents have one fast-track authority. So he's saying I shouldn't be any different, and let's go out on a high note.
All right, that's the last thing I'll ask you, George. What do we expect to see from this vote?
It's going to be very, very close. I wouldn't put any money on it, but I would guess that it will probably pass. A rule vote yesterday, sort of a preliminary vote, passed just barely. I mean, with 2 votes.
Wow.
But if I had to bet, I would say it would probably go through.
All right. Thank you, George.
Hey, thanks. Anytime.
Appreciate it. That's Washington editor for The Nation, George Zornick. You can find him on Twitter @GZornick. And, of course, all his work is online at thenation.com. I'm Clinton Yates, filling in for Bill Press here. We'll be back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
What gets you into college? Good SAT scores? High GPA? Lots of extracurriculars?
Sure, but what you really need is money.
If you don't have the cash, you'll need a loan.
And we mean huge student loans because the cost of college has risen 1,000% in the last 30 years.
This means big money for the banks that collect fees and interest.
Now, millions of young people are starting their adult lives with an average of $29,000 of loans on their backs.
Altogether, we're talking $1.2 trillion in student debt.
And more people are finding it impossible to pay them back. Welcome to the student debt crisis.
The increasing demand for higher education and cuts to state funding gave colleges a huge incentive to keep inflating prices.
I graduated about a year ago, currently in $35,000 of debt.
I am in debt about like $25,000.
I owe $23,000.
I owe over $50,000 in student loans.
38.8 million Americans owe money on a student loan. And the biggest names in banking are making huge profits off the booming student loan industry. Sallie Mae, the largest provider of private student loans, made $949 million last year.
They only give you about 6 months to look for a job. You have to start paying back the loan. It's very pressuring, especially nowadays. It's very hard to find a job.
Over half of the students graduating in 2012 could not find a decent paying job.
They either had low-wage jobs or unpaid internships or were unemployed altogether.
So you can't make the payments. You start incurring late fees, which makes the loan even harder to pay off.
And it stays with you for years, even decades.
Right now, a third of the people who started repaying their loans are delinquent or in default.
That's 13.7 million people, more than the populations of Chicago, New York, and San Francisco combined.
Worse, it's not just the borrowers who are in trouble. Many loans require co-signers.
So if the student is unable to pay, that co-signer, a father, a mother, or a grandparent, is now on the hook.
Even a grandparent's Social Security benefits can be garnished to pay the loan.
We should have an answer to this. If you get really behind in your car payment or your credit cards, you can file for bankruptcy.
But Congress has made it nearly impossible to discharge student loans through bankruptcy.
Big institutions make big profits while students try to make ends meet under crushing debt.
Is this how we want our education system to work?
The whole point of going to college is to get the career you want, but lately I've been discouraged because no one can afford school. You get a job just to pay off your student loans.
We need higher education, not higher debt.
Sign up to end the student debt crisis at higherednotdebt.org.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Welcome back to the program. My name is Clinton Yates. I want to thank you all for tuning in. I write for the Washington Post, and Bill is out today on this Friday. We had another trifecta, a sad one, Peter.
Man.
Got 3 of them.
That was a bummer.
Ornette Coleman, big-time jazz guy.
Yeah.
Christopher Lee, big-time actor.
Legendary actor.
Dusty Rhodes, big-time wrestler.
Yeah.
Tell me something about Ornette Coleman.
Ornette Coleman was great and still had such a fresh sound on the jazz in the jazz world.
Yeah.
If you go back and listen to Ornette Coleman records, or on Spotify now,
right?
If you go listen to Ornette Coleman, which is what I did.
Yeah.
The music that he put together, he played saxophone and was good at the saxophone, but it's not necessarily his talent as a player.
Right.
It was his talent as a structuralist, the way he put things together. It's just beautiful. I'm super bummed about that.
Everybody knows Christopher Lee. Everybody knows Christopher Lee, even if you don't know that you know Christopher Lee. He's been in a ton of stuff. Like when he passed, I looked at him and said, I have no idea what that guy's name is, but I've seen him in a million things. And I keep up as well as I can, but I didn't really it never even occurred to me that I would not know this man's name. I mean, he's been his filmography, I mean, goes way back to doing, horror films, when these things used to come on Saturday mornings. Right, exactly.
He played Dracula. You look at some of the movies that he did, he was in Star Wars.
Yep.
He was not the original Star Wars, but he was in the Star Wars franchise. He was in the James Bond franchise.
Yep.
He was Saruman in the Lord of the Rings stuff.
Super Titan in the game.
We're talking about the biggest movies of all time.
Right.
Christopher Lee was there.
And last but not least.
And by the way, he was the only member of that Lord of the Rings cast that actually met J.R.R. Tolkien. He's like a huge Tolkien
Oh, wow.
fan. Yeah. That's interesting. But yeah, last but not least, of course, the American Dream. Dusty Rhodes, your idol.
Oh, man, I love Dusty Rhodes, dude. I do love Dusty Rhodes.
Very sad. But he lived to be 69 years old, which, quite frankly, is way past the life expectancy of guys that wrestled in his era.
Yeah. He clearly wasn't a steroid user.
No.
If you saw the physique of one Dusty Rhodes.
He was a pizza eater.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Well, we're going to get you out on this, which is a soundbite from 1985 of Dusty being Dusty.
Dusty.
The Bill Press Show.
You don't know what hard times are, Daddy. Hard times are when the textile workers around this country are out of work and got 4 or 5 kids and can't pay their wages, can't buy their food. Hard times are when the auto workers are out of work and they tell them go home. And hard times are when a man has worked at a job 30 years. 30 years. They give him a watch, kick him in the butt, and say, hey, a computer took your place, Daddy. That's hard time. That's hard time.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, here we go. That magic time when the pledge drive continues and we ask for your help. And, so many of you have, and we appreciate that very, very much. And one regular viewer of Free Speech TV who lives not too far from the studio here was kind enough to come in today. He's been a very generous contributor to Free Speech TV. Craig Kellerman lives on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., and Craig, thanks for stopping by.
It's a real pleasure to be here.
Now, what do you like about free speech? I know you're a big fan.
I have been a huge supporter. When I first got to D.C., there, of course, was the Wall Street Journal, the main myth machine for corporate America and for Wall Street. But then there was suddenly Roger Ailes and the Fox conglomerate. And they are major myth makers, probably better than Homer. They rapidly and cannily took over the TV stations, the press, in a way that had not been envisioned by liberals. Mm-hmm. You had Rush Limbaugh. You had Fox News, and Fox News purveying itself as real news, when in fact they were making their own news. It was absolutely outrageous, and there was really no other outlet for liberal news or for news in general. Yeah. And the lovely thing about Free Speech TV was it was news that was also truth. It wasn't just a liberal slant. It was real news. And the first antidote, if you will, that we had to Fox News, Rush Limbaugh, and it's a crucial antidote because they have, let's face it, a decade jump on us, at least a decade's jump.
Yeah, right.
They have been out there for a long time doing what we're just starting to do. And your program most admirably, but also Amy Goodman, Tom Hartman, David Packman, wonderful, wonderful journalists who are getting the word out there. And it's a different word from Fox, principally because it's truth.
Well, that's so good of you to say, and it's great having loyal friends and supporters and viewers like you around the country. What is your message to other people watching about helping Free Speech TV?
Give, and I'll show you what I mean. I'm surprising Bill with a check for $1,000.
Oh, my God.
We need $1,500 a day, and it's we, you out there and me, we need Free Speech TV. So my challenge to you viewers out there is if just five of you will give $100, we will meet his $1,500 a day goal. So we need to do this together. Okay, folks?
All right. Can't thank you enough. You heard it. I can't say it any better than Craig Kellerman has said. And you know how to do it. You go to 877-378-8669 or to freespeech.org. Craig.
And give.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It was great being here. Thank you for having me, Bill.
A few years ago, plastic bag waste in our city came to a tipping point. It was clear we had a bag problem. My department was tasked to reduce plastic bag consumption. We needed to come up with ways to change human behavior. So we asked ourselves,
would you like a bag?
What do people really hate?
Yep.
Getting punched in the stomach. Preliminary studies showed that the consequences weren't severe enough to warrant behavioral change.
Actually, can I get that double bagged?
So we thought, what do people hate more than getting punched in the stomach? Kissing Helga.
Hey, big boy.
People didn't find her so offensive after all, so we had to get creative.
How many bags? Okay, now, pour this ice water down your pants.
We tried everything.
Eat this rat. Defuse this bomb.
Even fighting your clone. After blowing through millions of dollars of government funds on research, I came up with a brilliant idea.
Why don't we just charge 5 cents per bag?
That's a stupid idea.
Would you like a bag?
Yes.
5 cents a bag.
5 cents? 5 cents? Do I still have the option of getting punched?
Honestly, I don't know how everyone else missed it.
Why don't you just get a reusable bag?
broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Happy Friday, everybody. I'm Clinton Yates. I write for the Washington Post. I'm filling in for Bill here. It's Friday, June 12th, 2015. I want to thank everybody for tuning in on a progressive station in your town across America. Or if you're listening to us on the iHeartRadio app or the TuneIn app, we appreciate that as well. Of course, if you're looking at us, you can see us on Free Speech TV, on DirecTV, or you can watch us streaming live on youtube.com/TawkrTV. You can always check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/Bill Press Show, and tweeting at BP Show as well, if you like the Twitter box. Next to me to my right is one Peter Ogburn. Peter.
Clinton.
How are you?
We are. Happy Friday. I'm well.
Good.
Well, how you
Very
doing?
good as well. Solid. Across the boards is Elisa Murphy.
Hey, happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you, too. And if you give us a phone call at 866-55-PRESS, which is 866-557-7377, Jamie Benson will answer your call. And, of course, Cyprian Bowling is running the video for those of you who are looking at our ugly mugs. So, Netflix, new show came out a little early yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that.
Season 3 of Orange is the New Black. Are you in? Are you in?
I really, really liked the first season.
Yeah.
I watched the first episode of season 2. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and then it just got away from me.
Yeah.
And I didn't follow up. I got to watch season 2. And I will absolutely watch season 3. I've given up on some of the other Netflix joints.
Yeah.
I don't watch House of Cards anymore. But
Really? You bailed on House of Cards?
I'm done. I'm done.
Why?
Forever and ever. Season 1 was not good, but it was entertaining.
Yeah.
And I respected what it was. Season 2 got really bad. Season 3 was unwatchable. And I got to like episode 6, and I just said, I'm done.
You bailed.
I'm done. But Orange is the New Black still appeals to me. I still think that there were a couple of issues in season 1. I really like what I saw at the beginning of season 2. And I like all the actors, actresses. I like the story. I like the writer. I like the director. I'm in.
I watched season 1, binged it, and I loved it.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, I just never really got into season 2. I don't know why. Maybe it was a time thing. Maybe it was just a life thing. I never really got into it. And I always said to myself, I'm going to rewatch I'm going to watch season 2 before season 3 comes. Didn't do it. So now I got 2 full seasons to watch, which is very daunting. I feel like I got to take a day off.
Yeah,
just to
exactly.
Catch up on Orange is the New Black. But anyway, we got a lot to do on the show today. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Caitlyn Jenner made her very first appearance in public after her Vanity Fair cover was unveiled last week. The 65-year-old former Olympian showed up at the Los Angeles LGBT Youth Center, on Wednesday, actually, to discuss her experiences of making the transition from Bruce Jenner to Caitlyn Jenner. Spent about 2 hours at the facility, did a tour, talked to some of the people there.
Was this a public thing?
It was it was a closed speech, but was out in public and was talking to people and took some questions. So
that's cool.
She's getting out there.
Good
She's
for
getting
her.
out there. The very first penile transplant works. You want to know how I know it works? It's because the 21-year-old recipient announced earlier this week said that he's having a child. He has impregnated his girlfriend with his transplanted penis.
Slow down.
Yeah, I get it.
Slow down. Here.
I understand.
Good morning, America.
Penile transplant.
He's a 21-year-old man. He went and had a circumcision as an older man, or not as a kid.
So a botched circumcision led to his necessity for a penis transplant.
You got it.
Is there a donor list?
You get.
I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
I
mean,
that's a good question.
How does that come about? That's not like asking somebody for a kidney. That's a different matter.
And you get to assess the goods.
Yeah.
Before the operation?
That's a good question. Can I choose?
Exactly.
I mean, I will go for a Rachel Dolezal situation.
I had a feeling you were going to go there. And I did not say that.
Things are good, but
things could always
everybody could use an upgrade, right?
Wow. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I've gotten
I'd like to see the catalog. That's all I'm saying.
So he's now impregnated his wife?
He has impregnated his girlfriend. He's 21 years old. He's 21 years old, by the way. And so he had this circumcision that was botched when he was 18 years old.
Why? I wonder what led him to get a circumcision when he was 18. That's weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, good for him.
Yeah, good for him. He's got one now. It works. Congratulations.
There's a lot happening in that story.
So much happening. I knew you'd like that. And yesterday, Ben & Jerry's announced that they are going to be rolling out some new ice cream in 2016. It's a big, big news for vegans. They are going to put out some vegan ice cream.
That doesn't sound like it's going to be very good.
I can't imagine it's going to be good. But if you are a vegan, at least you now can get some Ben & Jerry's because they didn't have the option before. And there's a whole, market, right, for vegan ice cream. Yeah. There's the coconut ice cream, and you got the almond milk ice cream and all that. Frankly, I've never had any. But Ben & Jerry's said, like, look, we understand that there's a market. We're going to get in on that one.
All right. Well, thank you, Peter. All right. So we're going to take things down south where, obviously at this point, everybody in America has seen the video of what took place at a private, well, I guess not a private pool, but a community pool in McKinney, Texas. And there was, the initial sort of backlash was, oh my God, this is incredibly racist and all this other stuff. And, pools are a large place where racism is a big problem in America. I mean, this is sort of the original kind of you will not be gathering here with us situation. And a teacher who teaches not in McKinney, but outside of McKinney or wherever, somewhere in Texas that is relatively close to there, posted a pretty, I don't even know what to say about the comments. I mean, they were obviously incendiary and they were clearly, racially motivated and racist, for lack of a better term. And she got fired. Yeah. Their school district basically has a code of conduct policy. The internet came after her, for lack of a better term, and she ended up getting canned. The same thing happened to a school principal in Miami, Florida, or in Florida somewhere. And, he posted something similar, like on a news comment, a comment on a news story or something that traced back to him, and he ended up in a situation not dissimilar to that. So I want to ask you guys, 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Do you think that this should be something that people can get fired for? It's sort of easy to point the finger and just say, oh, well, obviously, if you posted this, that means you have deep-seated problems and you obviously are not fit to do this. But at the same time, it's like, look, does it mean that somebody is unfit to teach or unfit to educate because they happen to have views that are outdated? I don't know. I might happen to think that. And I think there's a judgment factor here that's just as large necessarily as a discrimination factor when you're a teacher. But I do think it's an interesting question. 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Do you think that either of these educators deserve to be fired for the comments they made on social media and on a news site?
It's a good question. It's a really good question. I think that absolutely yes is the answer. And I'll tell you why I think it's so important in this specific case. Because what she said on Facebook wasn't just racially insensitive comments.
Right.
They were those. But then above and beyond that, she said that she thinks that they should be segregated. She called for segregation. She said that she thinks that black people and white people should go back to how they were. And when you talk about all the problems that we have in this country, about the problems that young black people have with the society that has put them in the place that they're in, and you've got a teacher who thinks that they need to be addressed differently than white kids, I think that's a huge problem.
Yeah,
because that's not just an old stupid joke that you heard from your granddad that you didn't realize was so racist. These are thoughts that say you think that this black student should have a different experience and a worse experience than this white student.
Right.
That's what she's saying. and she's unfit to teach. You can't teach kids if you have that worldview.
That's a good point. 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Would love to hear your thoughts on this. What do you think should be done if a teacher does something like this or says something like this in social media? I want to read this. Here's what she is. Her name is Karen Fitzgibbons. She writes, "This makes me angry." Angry's in all caps, by the by. "This officer should not have had to resign. I'm going to just go ahead and say it. The blacks are the ones causing the problems."
The blacks.
The blacks.
Okay.
Whenever you get out there, the blacks.
Yeah.
Like Rachel Dolezal. The blacks are the ones causing the problems in this, quote, racial tension. That's in scare quotes. "I guess that's what happens when you flunk out of school and have no education. I'm sure their parents are just as guilty for not knowing what their kids were doing or knew it and didn't care. I'm almost to the point of wanting them all segregated on one side of town so they can hurt each other and leave the innocent people alone." This thing is loaded.
The innocent people.
Innocent people. It's crazy.
But like you hear that? That's how she's used her students.
Yeah. It's frightening. It's frightening. Listen, this goes on. "Maybe the 50s and 60s were really on to something. Now let the bashing of my true and honest opinion begin. Go. Hashtag I'm not racist. Hashtag I'm sick of them causing trouble. Hashtag here's the showstopper. It was a gated community." Like, as if that means, like, we have segregated ourselves enough.
Right.
Why are you bothering to come in? It's kind of unbelievable. 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377.
I know a lot of people, there was a conversation about whether or not this officer should have been fired, and they took care of that with him resigning. So but there's this, you've got to look at the long take here. You got to look at the big picture. If he was still a police officer, what would it take for him to get fired, right? Like, we saw how bad it could have been. It didn't happen this time, but what about next time?
Right.
She made these comments, making it very clear that she doesn't think that black students and white students deserve to be treated the same.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Because look, the people at the heart of this issue in this hashtag gated community were students.
Right.
They're black students.
Right. These are kids.
These weren't like, 25-year-old kids. This was like 14, 15-year-old kids.
Yeah.
Like, she could be teaching them.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to take some calls on the other side of this break here, but listen, 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. That's the phone number. We're talking about McKinney, Texas. Teachers posting crazy stuff. I'm Clinton Yates, filling in for Bill Press. It's Friday. We'll be back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, friends and neighbors, good show so far. A little time out here for a most important message. And I got one big word for you today. Please, please, please make your pledge to Free Speech TV. Look, we're really frustrated. I'm feeling frustrated because we're toward the end of our pledge drive and just nowhere near the goal where we've got to be. And I know you don't want that to happen. I know you don't want Free Speech TV to run out of gas. We know you love Free Speech TV, but we're not feeling that love, not seeing it. We're just nowhere close to our goal, not hitting the mark. So I ask you to please don't put it off any longer. Step up to the plate, make your pledge as generously as you can to help us meet our goal. Remember, our goal for every show here on the Bill Press Show is $1,500. Hey, that's not that much. Think about it. It's 15 of you. If 15 of you give $100, we're there. 30 of you can give $50, we're there. Or think of it this way, the price of one night out for dinner for the two of you, you got a whole year of the great programming on Free Speech TV. But it really, really is urgent because, once again, you are Free Speech TV. We are, you are, there ain't nobody else. There's no government funding we can count on, no foundation funding, no corporate funding, no Koch brothers funding. It's just the partnership that we've got, and we've really got to keep that going. And we'll try to make it worth your while, just to give you a little maybe incentive to help us out today. Remember our premiums this time. If for $60, we'll send you this for your one-time pledge for $60. This stamp, not to be used for bribing politicians. You can have a lot of fun with that with your friends. $120 to help us with that. We'll send you a copy of John Nichols' book, Dollarocracy, about all the evil of money in politics and how we get rid of it. For $240, you get the stamp and the book, and for $360, you get the stamp. Can't be used for bribing politicians. Dollarocracy by John Nichols, and a Free Speech TV baseball cap. If you can help with $1,000, a real special treat, come to Washington, see the monuments, get to the White House, get to the Capitol, and most importantly, Carol and I will take you out to dinner at one of our great restaurants on Capitol Hill, and then invite you in to join the crew the next morning, meet the team, have some district donuts, and enjoy the show. But the most important thing is we need your help to make your pledge as generously as you can. We know not everybody can do all the same, but whatever you can, your one-time pledge for Free Speech TV. Don't be a freeloader. Don't be just a couch potato. If you enjoy the program, and we know you do, then do your share to keep Free Speech TV on the air and keep me and Stephanie Miller and Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Packman and all the rest of the great Free Speech TV hosts in your home every single day. Please help. Please do it today. You know the number, 877-378-8669, or just go to freespeech.org. Please help, and we thank you.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. My name is Clinton Yates. I write for the Washington Post. I'm filling in for Bill Press here on Friday. We're talking about the situation in McKinney, Texas, and some of the fallout. A couple of different teachers have been fired after posting rather incendiary remarks on Facebook about the scenario. Do you think that's fair? Peter?
We're on Twitter, at BP Show, at BP Show. Margaret Colvin weighs in and says, of course they should be fired. Who wants their child sitting under someone who treats them as inferior? And Amy Calvert says, bigots need to be brought into the light, shamed, and scrutinized. Their targets can't hide, and neither should they.
866-55-PRESS, 5577377. Want to get your thoughts. Victor in Pennsylvania, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, I feel as though that they should be fired, too, because I wouldn't want my children to be taught by anybody like that with them thinking the way that they think. Black children has a problem already. They already go through what you call a syndrome, through inherited helplessness. So, you know what I mean? Like that personally alone, I'd rather for them to be fired, too.
All right. Well, thanks for the phone call. I mean, that's the other thing. How many kids do you think she didn't give a chance to? Fourth grade is a critical age. Oh, my God. That's when the rubber really hits the road on whether or not any of it's going to take.
It's the last full day of my fourth grader's year right now. It is very, very important, and the teacher makes a big difference.
A huge difference. And so if she's out there categorically denying chances to and or pre-stereotyping certain students for certain things, as you said, you can't have that.
I don't want to say that there is, bad racism and then worse racism.
Yeah.
But as I said earlier, we all know or have someone in our lives who will tell that joke. Right. That they just heard their whole life. And that's not okay.
No.
But I don't know that those people know necessarily what they're doing sometimes or how hurtful it could be.
There's an element of sort of, what's the word? Obtuseness or whatever.
Yeah. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying. But this
actively, going out of their way to say that that white and black kids should be separated.
It's pretty nuts. 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Getting back, though, to the actual incident, that video is really bananas. Like, there's a couple of questions I have about that, which is, number one, the dude who's just standing around in the jorts, who is that guy?
I got to think he's a guy who called the police because there were black people in his neighborhood.
I mean, and he's just there, interfering with the entire process. You know, you watch all these protest videos and the like, and they're like, oh, well, these people are obstructing justice. Therefore, we have to douse them with 9 pounds of tear gas or whatever and beat them back with, whatever riot-proof things. Meanwhile, at the community pool down in McKinney, some dude's just rolling around in the middle of this guy pulling his gun on people, acting like he's some kind of a deputy. I mean, it's amazing to me how people continually find reasons to try to delete the reality that not only is racism such a large part of how we interact with each other, but how everything is rooted in such a basic notion of white supremacy in terms of how everything works that they don't really understand. Like the 15-year-old who shot that video, he talked and he was just like, yeah, I mean, I was just standing there. Yeah. Cop didn't say anything to me. And this dude pops out, runs out, barrel rolling all over the place.
Barrel rolls out. Like, what in the world?
So bizarre. And you're like, it's so plain to see. He's literally rounding up black people while white people walk away.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even about, again, it's not about cross burning and the like all the time. That's not really the concern. It's just when basic matters of civility are on the line, very often people's natural instinct is just to presume that black people are doing something wrong.
Yep.
And we got to address why people think that. It's not just about firing idiots that are going off on Facebook. You got to address the inherent fear that you have of black folks. Why? We're just trying to live, man. It's really all it is. Some of us are trying to live as black people when we're not even black, which is even crazier, but that's a different matter altogether. Anyway, I'm Clinton Yates. This is the Bill Press Show. We'll be back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, folks, just a little time out. Hope you're enjoying the show today. A little time out here to tell you again and get about Free Speech TV and get your help. And, we reach out to you, all of our viewers around the country during these pledge drives, ask you to help. And we're so grateful when you do. And it's very rare, though. We get a chance to thank one of you actually in person. So we welcome to the show today and to our studio Craig Tepfer, all the way from Chelsea, Michigan, a regular Free Speech viewer and a very generous contributor to Free Speech. Craig, it's good to see you.
It's good to be here, Bill.
Thank you for coming in all the way from Chelsea, Michigan. I know last year we met because you were made a $1,000 pledge. You and your daughter came. Carol and I, we all went out to dinner together, had a good time. That was a lot of fun.
Had a great time.
Right. And it's good to see you back. So tell us again, why do you really like Free Speech TV?
Free speech to me is the dream come true. It's television without commercials, plain and simple.
Yeah. And you like the people and obviously in the content on Free Speech?
All of the regular programs plus all of the special programs you can't find anyplace else on the television set.
It's the one progressive television channel people don't realize is maybe in the country, right? 24/7, where you can always count on going there and hearing good stuff from a progressive point of view.
This is true. It's 24 hours a day. All of the programs are great to watch, intellectually stimulating, and have great progressive concepts.
Well, we wouldn't be here without people like you, and I want to thank you again personally. And you're back today because you want to make another pledge and challenge people to meet it, right?
That's right. I would like to pledge a half of my net worth, 0.5% of my net worth, to match the Koch brothers' donation to the GOP. So I am committing $500.
Great.
To the Free Speech TV, and hope that your listeners can match that.
I think that's a great challenge. All right, so there you go. There's $500 from Craig Tepfer today. You can match that yourself, or a couple of you, 2 or 3 of you, get together, get your family members together, and match this pledge so Craig doesn't feel alone. And we have the help we need on free speech to get going. And, of course, you know the way to do so. Craig, you certainly do, is give us a call at 877-378-8669. Number again, 877-378-8669. Or just go to freespeech.org, freespeech.org. And, Craig, the other thing I want to congratulate you on, you are a pioneer in solar energy. I know you have a solar-powered car right now. So you're doing so many great things. You know,
I've been doing this for most of my life, wind and solar energy, and supporting environmental groups and organizations that promote solar energy.
Well, so good of you to do that, and so good of you to come in. And thanks again for your help for Free Speech TV. And match Craig Tepfer's $500 grant. Thank you, Craig.
It's so important. Thank you.
The most valuable morning radio show, according to The Nation magazine. This is The Bill Press Show.
My name is Clinton Yates. I write for the Washington Post, filling in for Bill here on a Friday. Let's get right to it. We've got Representative Dan Kildee from Michigan here in studio. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing great.
Yeah?
A little worn out.
Still worn out from last night.
Stood out there and
all right, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. But let's get to the more important stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a big day. It's a big month. It's a big everything for you. What's on your slate today?
Well, today is a couple of critical votes on TPA, on the Trans-Pacific Partnership Negotiating Authority, the so-called fast track. We had a test vote yesterday on the rule. It was very close. Today we've got a couple of votes, maybe just one. One has to do with trade adjustment assistance, the offset to job losses as a result of trade deals. So this is going to be a big day, and it's a real test.
What does that mean in layperson's terms, as you just described?
So today, I mean, the first vote that we'll have will be on a trade adjustment assistance. This is a deal that the fast track deal for the Trans-Pacific Partnership is pretty controversial, obviously. A lot of us oppose it. It's really a close call as to whether or not enough Republicans and a handful of Democrats, I wish they wouldn't, will come together to support granting the president authority to negotiate the remainder of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. It's almost all completely negotiated, which is part of the problem with this whole process, is that the cart is so far ahead of the horse that Congress can hardly expect any guidance that it gives to the White House to go into the TPP, because the TPP is almost entirely negotiated, and that's one of the big flaws with this whole process.
You have been fairly critical of this trade agreement throughout the whole process. The president has also been on a full court press here to try and change the minds of people like you.
Right.
Has he succeeded in changing your mind at all?
No. And, here's the thing. I support the president on most of his policies. In fact, I think I was once ranked one of the most aligned members of Congress with the president. But on this question, we part company. And I just think when it comes to these trade deals, we have to really think long term. And I've lived through this. I come from Flint, Michigan. Yeah. We've lived through trade deals, and we've been made the same kind of promises. So, I'm really concerned when I see no provision to deal with countries that manipulate their currency, which for the auto industry is the biggest barrier to free and fair trade. when we see Vietnam as one of the potential signatories to this deal. Vietnam, which has no real human rights protections, no labor rights protections. I was in Vietnam a few weeks ago and met with some labor advocates, and they're very concerned that this TPP deal will essentially pull the rug out from under their efforts to really get free and fair, open trade unions. And then we see now an effort that will require the U.S. to reduce our commitment to fighting against human trafficking in Malaysia in order to allow Malaysia to be a part of the TPP. I mean, this is not...
That's terrifying.
Yeah, that is kind of scary.
This is not an agreement as it was billed originally, a high standards agreement intended to elevate the standards of other countries. What we're seeing now is the same thing we see with many of these trade deals. We will meet these other countries at the lowest common denominator, and the United States will continue to have its standing in the world as really a place where everyone has opportunity to become a place where we're essentially competing with Vietnamese workers who make 60 cents an hour. And I just think that's flat wrong.
We're talking with Congressman Dan Kildee from Michigan here on the Bill Press Show. How do you think this will affect those back in places like your district in terms of stateside and in other places like that across America?
Well, the thing that is most concerning to me is that it's likely going to result in us continuing to see manufacturing jobs go away. And I think, one of the things that we've lost in the last 25 or 30 years is the sense that we can actually create and export. We've become a consumer nation, a nation whose industry is primarily on finance and service sector jobs. If we're not manufacturing, building, growing, and exporting, we really don't have a sustainable economy. And I just see this as being just one more step toward us moving away from being a source of manufacturing, and that's pretty frightening.
The president, as I mentioned earlier, is again the full court press, trying to change minds, win hearts. What is it that he's told you to try and change your mind?
Just that this agreement is a different kind of agreement, a higher standards agreement. And, my job is to not just take what anyone says at face value, whether it's the President of the United States or anyone else. And so I have to look at the detail. And frankly, there's nothing that I've seen in the detail that leads me to come to that conclusion, independent of what other people might be telling me. And I went to Vietnam.
Yeah.
I went to Korea. I went to Japan. I went to some of these places, met with the heads of state, talked to labor leaders, talked to human rights advocates on the ground. And I've come to my own conclusion on this.
All right. So what do you think? How do you think it's going to go for the rest of the day?
I think it's going to be close. I mean, there's this sort of, and I mentioned this earlier. There's this pivotal vote on trade adjustment assistance, which is tie-barred to the TPA. So we find ourselves in an ironic position, those of us who've been advocates for workers for a long time. We actually could stop the TPA today if we defeat trade adjustment assistance. Republicans don't like TAA. So you've got this odd mix of how many Republicans would be willing to vote for $700 million for trade adjustment assistance in order to get TPA, and how many Democrats, like myself, are willing to vote against trade adjustment assistance in order to stop TPA.
Right.
It's convoluted, but it's really a vote really fundamentally on whether or not TPA should move forward.
All right. Well, when we get back, we're going to talk something a little different, a little bit more fun with the Congressman Dan Kildee from Michigan. A great game of baseball. I'm Clinton Yates. It's the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, friends and neighbors, good show so far. A little time out here for a most important message. And I got one big word for you today. Please, please, please make your pledge to Free Speech TV. Look, we're really frustrated. I'm feeling frustrated because we're toward the end of our pledge drive and just nowhere near the goal where we've got to be. And I know you don't want that to happen. I know you don't want Free Speech TV to run out of gas. We know you love Free Speech TV, but we're not feeling that love, not seeing it. We're just nowhere close to our goal, not hitting the mark. So I ask you to please don't put it off any longer. Step up to the plate, make your pledge as generously as you can to help us meet our goal. Remember, our goal for every show here, $1,500. Hey, that's not that much. Think about it. It's 15 of you. If 15 of you give $100, we're there. 30 of you can give $50, we're there. Or think of it this way, the price of one night out for dinner for the two of you, you got a whole year of the great programming on Free Speech TV. But it really, really is urgent because, once again, you are Free Speech TV. We are, you are, there ain't nobody else. There's no government funding we can count on, no foundation funding, no corporate funding, no Koch brothers funding. It's just the partnership that we've got, and we've really got to keep that going. And we'll try to make it worth your while. Just to give you a little maybe incentive to help us out today. Remember our premiums this time. If for $60, we'll send you this for your one-time pledge of $60. This stamp, not to be used for bribing politicians. You can have a lot of fun with that with your friends. $120 if you help us with that. We'll send you a copy of John Nichols' book, Dollarocracy, about all the evil of money in politics and how we get rid of it. For $240, you get the stamp and the book. And for $360, you get the stamp. Can't be used for bribing politicians. Dollarocracy by John Nichols, and a Free Speech TV baseball cap. If you can help with $1,000, a real special treat, come to Washington, see the monuments, get to the White House, get to the Capitol, and most importantly, Carol and I will take you out to dinner at one of our great restaurants on Capitol Hill, and then invite you in to join the crew the next morning, meet the team, have some district donuts, and enjoy the show. But the most important thing is we need your help to make your pledge as generously as you can. We know not everybody can do all the same, but whatever you can, your one-time pledge for Free Speech TV. Don't be a freeloader. Don't be just a couch potato. If you enjoy the program, and we know you do, then do your share to keep Free Speech TV on the air and keep me and Stephanie Miller and Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Packman and all the rest of the great Free Speech TV hosts in your home every single day. Please help. Please do it today. You know the number, 877-378-8669, or just go to freespeech.org. Please help, and we thank you.
And online, this is the Bill Press Show.
Welcome back to the program. My name is Clinton Yates. I write for the Washington Post, filling in for Bill Press here. And in studio, we've got Representative Dan Kildee, Congressman from Michigan. How are you?
Doing great.
So, you got some bumps, bites, and bruises from last night.
Yeah.
You're out at the ballpark. How'd that go?
It was a great game.
Yeah.
And it was the first real game that we've had. I've been there 3 years, and we've won pretty handily. This was a tight game.
I mean, the final score is 5-2. Congratulations on the win.
Yeah.
Democrats
Thank you.
won, but that's the closest one I've seen in a while.
We've won like 7 in a row now, but this one was tight. And, this is in the what we call the Richmond era.
Right.
The Cedric Richmond era.
He's flinging heat out there. He can really pitch.
He's a great ball player. He's just a great athlete all around.
So it was a tough game. I mean, you went down swinging.
It's sort of the way I want to go down, no matter when I go down, is to go down swinging.
Right.
So I feel a lot better than I did last year. 2 of my at-bats last year, I got a base hit once, and then I watched the third strike go by, and I committed to myself, I will never let that happen
Smart
again.
man.
Yeah, exactly. We saw a couple of those last night from guys who just wouldn't swing. Wouldn't swing at strikes.
What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm glad you at least took a crack at it.
It was a pretty intense game, though. I mean, there was a reviewed play.
Yeah, there was.
And there were a lot of arguments. I was stunned. Is that normally the level of intensity between teams?
See, I was trying to figure out, and a reviewed play, is the appeal directly to the Supreme Court?
That's what they should do next year. Get a couple of justices out in their robes.
Right.
I think RBG would be a great third base umpire.
Just if they had the full vestments.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
the only way to do it.
That would be incredible. So we were talking during the break. You guys mentioned that. This is not just a matter of you all putting on a glove and getting out there. There's a pretty intense practice schedule. Describe that to the listeners.
Like for 2 months, 7 o'clock in the morning, every session day. The Republicans go off to their practice field. We go up to Gallaudet University, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, we don't. It's practice for the game for sure, but it's really it's something unto itself. A chance to run around on a ball field, play a kids game, get away from always being about all this stuff that we deal with and just kind of have some fun with some colleagues.
You all don't get a ton of those opportunities, I would imagine. Everything seems to be fairly buttoned up.
It is.
And to just get away from that, I think that's wise.
Yeah, the work, it's almost impossible to escape the work.
Yeah.
And so this is a chance to do that and
feel like a human again.
Yeah.
So the president dropped by, showed up during a very critical at-bat, and Mr. Paul struck out then. What was it like to have him come down to that game? The congressional baseball game obviously already has its fair share of names, but what was it like to have him come down while you all were playing?
It was pretty cool. Apparently it was the first time that a president had come to one of these games since President Nixon. So like immediately for us, we thought to ourselves, we really better win this game now. Or there will never be another president show up at one of these deals.
Yeah.
But it was cool, And again, we have this tension among some of us right now with the president. But, I fundamentally really like him and have worked well with him on a lot of issues. And so, obviously there may have been some subtext to the memo that had him coming to this game. But it was just nice to be able to see him and talk to him a little bit and talk baseball. And I walked him over and introduced him to some of the fans. That was kind of cool.
You have to admit, he really missed an opportunity last night because he showed up just as the racing presidents that we have here at the Nationals game came out and ran. I thought he was going to get into the race. I thought he was going to beat Teddy and George and everybody else.
I think he could have taken those guys.
I know he could have. He totally missed that.
A win is a win.
That's right. That's right. Take it.
All right, well, I know you got to get back to the Hill and get some procedural stuff done.
Busy day.
Congressman Dan Kilty from Michigan, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, I'm Clinton Yates. This is the Bill Press Show. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
When I started learning about nutrition, about which, by the way, much less is known than you might think, I learned that what mattered most about one's health was not necessarily the nutrients, good or bad, that you were consuming or staying away from, or even the calorie counts. But what predicted a healthy diet more than anything else is the fact that it was being cooked by a human being and not a corporation. Corporations cook very differently than people do. They use vast amounts of salt, fat, and sugar, much more than you would ever use in your own cooking. And the reason they do that is those are three incredibly attractive and incredibly cheap ingredients. And when they're layered properly, as in a chip or pastries and forms of junk food, they're incredibly addictive. They really press our buttons. They activate our dopamine network, our cravings. And in fact, people in the industry, they don't talk about addiction in the food industry, even though they traffic in addiction. They talk about craveability. It's the same thing. And snackability is another term they use. It's a lovely word. And then the last point about corporate cooking that's important to understand is they cook different stuff than you do at home. What they're good at, in general, they don't cook that well, but things like chips, they cook incredibly well. And here's a classic food that if you make it yourself, if you've ever made French fries, you have to wash the potatoes, you have to peel the potatoes, you have to slice the potatoes, you have to fry them in a lot of oil, you have to spatter your entire stovetop, you have to clean up, and then you have this pot of oil you have to get rid of. I mean, it's really difficult, and it's a pain. They're wonderful, but it's a pain. And if you make them yourself, you'll only eat them every 6 weeks, 2 months, because it's too much work. But when you let corporations cook for you, it's so simple and so inexpensive, and they're really good, that you will have them twice a day, as many people in America do. So you see the kinds of foods you end up with are these labor-intensive foods and desserts. These special occasion foods become everyday foods when we let industry cook for us. Eat anything you want, just cook it yourself.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. My name is Clinton Yates. I write for the Washington Post, filling in for Mr. Press here. So we just had Representative Dan Kildee on the show. He played in the congressional baseball game last night that the Dems won 5-2.
You got it.
5-2. In a scorcher of a game at Nats Park. The president showed up. It was very fun. And at one point, the point before, a jerk of an usher was kicking us out of our seats for sitting in the wrong section.
What was that
Mind you, there were 30,000 odd seats that nobody was sitting in.
Wide open stadium.
And that guy's, that was ridiculous.
We were one aisle over from the
we literally had to
acceptable
move
seats.
10 feet across the aisle to eat our nachos in peace. That was very distressing. But before that, I issued a question, which is this. And at least I want to get your thoughts on this as well. There's a movie coming out this weekend. It's the 4th in the series. I got to say something as well. I didn't even realize there was a 3rd movie in this series.
It's terrible.
I thought this was the 3rd one.
It's terrible.
Because when the 3rd one came out, I was like 22, and I didn't care about Jurassic Park anymore. So Jurassic World is out. A lot of blockbuster, billing, all this other stuff.
They're saying, by the way, this is tracking to be the biggest movie of the summer, bigger than Avengers.
I can't believe that.
At this point, ticket sales, they're saying, is showing that it's going to be the biggest moneymaker or sell the most tickets than
Is Jeff Goldblum in it?
Chef Goldblum is not in it.
Well, then,
See, how can they even do it without him?
I mean, that right there should tell you there's a problem with this movie.
I know.
Because science will find a way. So the question is this. If Jurassic World were real, would you go?
That's a real question. That's a good
I don't
question.
know that I know the answer to that. I'd like to figure that out now. Because according to the story, it's off the coast of Costa Rica. It's not like it's in, Fiji or whatever. It's get-toable.
Yeah. We talked about this last night. I still don't know that I have a definitive answer. I'll tell you what I don't like is in the trailer, because I'm going to see the movie today with my kids and a bunch of their friends. In the trailer, they're in these little bubbles, right? These little car situations that roll along the grass next to the dinosaurs, right? So that you could be in these protective bubbles and get like super up close.
Right.
I am never going to do that. Aside from the fact that it's not reality, but like if it was reality, I'm not going to do that.
So if there was an option, you would go for the SeaWorld type experience, not the game reserve type experience.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. In SeaWorld, you could go and look at the animals, or you can actually pay extra for that option where you swim with the dolphins. Yeah. I don't need that.
Elisa, you?
I don't know. I would say, if you're going to go and see that, like actually experience it, if you're going to go out like that, why not zip line?
Wow.
Why not have like a bubbled zip line over, you know what I mean? If you're going to do it, just do it.
No.
Because, you're taking that risk,
Dinosaurs have their world, and I have my world. All right? I would like to observe them in their world, but I don't want to get into their world.
I just want everybody to know who's not watching on Free Speech TV or TawkrTV that we've been discussing a lot of matters here. This is the most serious look Peter's had on his face all morning.
I'm dead serious.
Which is the no dinosaur rule. I would go. I would absolutely go, and I would do the whole thing. Now, mind you, I'm going to tie this back to what happened recently where a young lady lost her life in a lion park taking photographs of a lion from a car. Let me explain something to you. I've been to that exact park. And I've been to other game reserves in South Africa. Everybody rolls down the windows.
Yeah.
And everybody gets out of their car.
Yeah.
So people are like, oh, how could that happen? How did you do that? Well, you know what? When you get that far, you're not trying to look through this bad boy through the glass on your door. So just so you know, and I've done it. I've gotten out of the car, I've rolled down the windows. Not saying I'm not advocating for that. I'm just saying that there's a human element there, which is often a foolish element, the human element. But if somebody had a park full of dinosaurs, you better believe I'd be there. I'm sorry. You wouldn't be able to stop me.
It is.
Your game reserve analogy makes sense. That rings with me a little bit. I would have to, I'll put it this way. I might go get up close with some dinosaurs. I'm not going to be the first person who gets up close with dinosaurs.
Fair enough. It's an interesting question, though, because, what actually as an aside, what I don't love about this situation is that apparently in the story for Jurassic World, they just abandoned the last 2 movies.
Yeah.
And they pick up where the first one left off.
I don't love that.
I don't really understand that. Because in the second one, does it not end with, like, the streets of L.A. being dominated by velociraptors? How can you just sort of ignore that? I don't really get that.
That's a good point.
Anyway,
That's a good point.
What's the president doing today?
President has a pretty light schedule today on paper. We know that he's going to be doing a lot behind the scenes.
This is true.
At 10 a.m., the president and the vice president will receive the presidential daily briefing. Joe Biden is back at work this week after the death of his son, Beau. At 11:45, the president meets with the governors of Western states via video teleconference. No word on how long that's going to last, but we know for sure that the president is going to be working behind the scenes all day long on this TPP vote. The White House press briefing begins at 12:30 today. Other than that, it's a wide open schedule.
All right. Well, we got some audio of the president talking about how he deals with the haters, and this is very good advice.
I get 10 letters a night out of the 40,000 letters and emails and messages that we get. Some of them are, just saying thank you for something. Some of them are saying you're an idiot. Some of them are just talking about...
Do you answer the ones that call you an idiot?
I do.
Do you?
Yeah.
Are they surprised?
I think sometimes
when
they
after
are.
they've called you an idiot that they've gotten a response.
Yeah, I try to address their concerns.
It's a smart strategy. This is what I do.
Hi, hater.
Right, exactly. Right. You see this right here? You see what this says? Right. For those of you just listening, there's a sticker on the front of my computer that says, I love haters. And I fully endorse this philosophy. Because 9 times out of 10, when you reply, people are like, oh, my bad.
Yeah.
I didn't think you were going to reply. I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, yeah, it's cool. I'm a human being, too.
Right.
I have feelings.
Oh.
Anyway. All right. When we get back, America's favorite game.
Here we go.
Travis versus Travis. I'm Clinton Yates.
This is the Bill Press Show.
What they told us we were doing was going to rid the state of frivolous lawsuits. So we said, okay, let's vote for this.
Leading up to the 2003 effort in Texas, the insurance companies primarily, but also the medical industry, started this drumbeat. They were alleging that medical malpractice lawsuits were soaring and the cost of healthcare was going way up. They barraged the citizens of Texas with these frightening, scary messages that we were in some sort of crisis. But the reality was that simply wasn't true.
One of the things I think the public doesn't fully understand is that lawsuits are about a lot more than just seeking compensation for an individual plaintiff. By giving damages to the individual, the jury is sending a message about safety to the doctors, the nurses, the hospital. Please change your ways. Make healthcare safer to protect all of us.
Bill and Kelly Putnam experienced a nightmare scenario. They're in the nursing home with their father. The nurse administers medication improperly. As a result, he started to choke on the medication, and Kelly was forced to provide CPR on her father while staff at the nursing home did nothing.
I was probably 6 inches away from my dad's eyes. He's no longer thrashing, he's no longer moving.
And so they took him to the hospital, they worked on him. A cause of death, aspiration. Texas Board of Nursing ruled that the nurse not only did what we said she did, but she also said that the facility had her destroy the medical records for that day and create a new version. I decided to give a lawyer friend a call. I went through probably 10, maybe more. All of them I got the same letter back stating that because of tort reform, we cannot afford to litigate these types of cases.
What the 2003 restrictions did was make it economically unfeasible for most attorneys to take most medical malpractice cases. It's a cynical attempt to make it harder for people to go to court by making it harder for them to get representation.
I do remember when Patricia Whitman first contacted me, because as a cardiologist, I was pretty outraged when I looked at the medical records.
Patricia Whitman visited the emergency room complaining of chest pains. They look at her EKG. Doctor says, no, you've got indigestion, go home. The symptoms persist. Next day she goes in, sees a different physician. She's been having a heart attack.
Anyone looking at this EKG in a patient with chest pain has to consider that that patient is having an acute heart attack until proven otherwise. All of these abnormalities were essentially ignored, and a diagnosis of acid reflux was made in Patricia Whitman's case, and that was the wrong diagnosis.
The doctor came in and he said that I had substantial permanent heart damage and that I was, quote unquote, 100% disabled. Prior to the heart attack, I had a 3,500 square foot home that I took care of, and I was on my feet 8 hours a day going to cosmetology school. Then I would come home and cook for my kids and do whatever else needed to be done. I did it all. After the heart attack, I couldn't keep up with the house. I couldn't pay the mortgage. My life has changed a lot. I will never be able to do what I used to do. I have to depend on 5 heart medications that I have to take every day in order to survive. This is a letter from one attorney. It would be difficult to prove that the ER physician's conduct rose to the level of gross negligence. No attorney would take my case.
Tort reform involved a specific passage of language that said that a simple negligence standard no longer applied to emergency room care in Texas. The new standard was a gross negligence standard called willful and wanton negligence.
You have to prove in court that that doctor saw me walk through the door and said, that's my next victim. And of course that doesn't happen. And so people like Patricia Whitman, who find themselves in the emergency room and are misdiagnosed or harmed, face almost no ability for accountability. If you look back and you break down the arguments made by the insurance companies and medical industry about the cost, quality, access of healthcare in Texas, by every metric, we're worse off today than we were 10 years ago. It has made life better and easier for a small group of corporate interests at the expense of the rest of us.
These corporations, they have no fear because they know that they're not going to be held responsible. It shouldn't be about money. But unfortunately, that's the only language these people speak. That's why we're out protesting.
We will stand out on the street in front of the facility with signs that state what happened and make sure that they understand that we're not going to go away and that what they did was wrong.
We must restore meaningful accountability in this state so that another family does not go through the same nightmare that they've been through. If enough people in the public say enough is enough, then politicians have to think twice. We're never going to be able to compete with the special interests in terms of campaign contributions and money. Where we have to compete with them is in boots on the ground. The more people that rise up and say, we want our rights back, then they have to think about it. And once we've made them think about it, then half the battle is won.
broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
What's up, kiddos? It's me. I'm Clinton Yates. I write for the Washington Post, filling in for Bill here, Friday, June 12th, 2015. I want to thank you all for listening. If you're watching us on TawkrTV on YouTube or on Free Speech TV, on DirecTV and the Dish Network, or any of your progressive radio stations across the country, everybody's here. Peter, Lisa.
Clinton, how are you, sir?
Jamie, what's up?
Here we are.
Cyprian's here. But let's get
full
down,
house today, man.
Let's get down to business. America's favorite game. You asked for it. You wanted it. We read your emails. We've seen your tweets. We have thrown away your faxes. Time for Travis versus Travis. Travis Waldron, who's a sports reporter now for Huffington Post, by the way. Congrats on that. This is the first time we've been in here together since you got the job change. Hello, Travis Waldron.
Hello, sir.
You can find him on Twitter at Travis Waldron. And, of course, SB Nation's Travis Hughes as well. You can find him on Twitter at Travis SBN. How are you, Travis?
I'm great.
All right. So for those of you who don't know how this game works, it is very simple. A long time ago, we were all hanging out at the same place, and I came up with this dumb joke. And we basically spent the rest of the month, or the rest of the time, trying to get to the punchline. But how it works is this. We have the Slate News Quiz of the Week with Ken Jennings. And I'm going to ask these two gentlemen what they know about the world that's happening around them. We keep score.
This is going to be embarrassing.
You get one.
It really is.
I have faith in you, Travis.
And all the jokes work. See how that works? 1 point for a correct answer. And 2 points if you steal. Is that right? Is that what we did last time?
If you
steal, I forgot.
I have no idea.
I forgot.
Don't look at me.
We sort of
2 points for a steal.
It's 2 points for a steal, but you lose 2 if you botch the steal. That's the whole point, right? I thought that's why we did that. Anyway,
Okay.
Yeah.
Forget about it. It doesn't matter. We'll make the rules up as we go along, FIFA style. So, without any further ado, Peter.
This is Travis versus Travis. Now, here's your host, Clinton Yates.
Thank you very much. All right, question 1. And I told you it was awesome. Question 1 goes to Mr. Hughes. Speaking to a crowd of 65,000 people over the weekend, Pope Francis pleaded a reconciliation to the end of the division between whom? A, India and Pakistan. B, Bosnian Serbs and Muslims. C, Colombia and FARC rebels. Or D, Marge and Homer Simpson.
Oh man, that's India and Pakistan?
No. Oh. Alas.
Harsh. No.
No, not going for it? All right.
Not even close.
The answer is actually B, Bosnian Serbs and Muslims. His Holiness held an outdoor mass at the Sarajevo Stadium that hosted the 1984 Winter Olympics. So how about that? You get a little knowledge with the trivia here, listeners. It's not just about me goofing off with 2 guys named Travis. All right, Mr. Waldron. Which of these incomparable historical sites was attacked by a suicide bomber and 2 gunmen on Wednesday? A, Syria's Saladin Castle. B, Thailand's Wat Arun. C, Mali's Timbuktu mosques. Or D, Egypt's Karnak Temple.
C.
Bruh. I don't even know what that was.
Is that yes or no?
That's a no. That's a hard no.
That is
bruh.
incorrect.
Bruh.
Mr. Hughes, do you want to go for the steal?
Absolutely not.
All right. The answer is D, Egypt's Karnak Temple. The incident is the latest in a series of Islamic attacks on tourist sites in Egypt, but it was thwarted by security forces. So,
Travis has 0.
Yes, Travis has 0. That is a good way
We're
of putting
sports
that.
writers. It's a busy sports week.
There are a few things going on this week.
We've got a second segment for that. All right, for you, Mr. Hughes. According to the police superintendent of New York State, more than 400 law enforcement officers are looking, quote, behind every tree, under every rock, for whom? A kidnapped infant. B, 2 escaped prisoners. C, a Quebec-based terror cell. Or D, a FIFA executive.
So, okay, I know the answer, but it's also on CNN right there.
Oh, man. That's a bummer.
You just got lucky.
It is prisoners. It's
Yes.
prisoner.
Got him! That is correct. Richard Matt is one of 2 fugitives, is, quote, a psychotic out for revenge, a former accomplice told reporters. That story is crazy, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, they need to find those dudes.
Yeah.
ASAP. All right. for you, Mr. Waldron. A new study has revealed that who is prone to drinking from vats of wine and can often consume an entire container in one sitting? A, chimpanzees. B, cosmonauts. C, orchids. Or D, and I didn't write this is messed up, Hope Solo. I don't like that at all, but I wish I'd read this
It's on
beforehand.
there.
Yeah.
That's mean.
Yes.
Chimpanzees.
Correcto. All right. Researchers discovered the chimps stealing palm sap wine from containers where it sits fermenting in the town of Bosu, Guinea. It's the first time apes have been seen drinking in the wild. All right. We're at 1-1. Mr. Waldron, you got the tie there. That was key. Mr. Hughes, this is for you. At a summit this week in Bavaria, the leaders of the G7 nations agreed to phase out the use of what by 2100? A, fossil fuels. B, import tariffs. C, incandescent bulbs. Or D, comic songs. That's funny. Whoever writes these is funny. Ken Jennings, Slate, whoever you got, these are funny.
Fossil fuels?
Yeah.
All right.
Arnold showing up. Don't get too ambitious.
Right. The world's wealthiest nations.
We'll get around to it in 85 years.
Good point. The world's wealthiest nations committed themselves to decarbonizing the global economy in the course of this century, which is way down the line. All right, Mr. Waldron. Recommendations made this week by a major industry trade group might cause what to shrink by 21%? A, beer bottles. B, toilet tanks. C, ATM cards. Or D, carry-on luggage.
Carry-on luggage.
All right, correct.
I was going to go with toilet tanks, but
that might be true, too.
We don't know. That's when I remembered reading that somewhere.
All right. The International Air Transport Association recommended a new standard carry-on size that's considerably smaller than most U.S. carriers.
And then they're going to charge you
allow.
for it, too.
Exactly. That's going to be a pain. All right, here we go. Question 7 for Mr. Hughes. UN-sponsored peace talks begin in Geneva this weekend in hopes of ending the violence that killed 43 people in this chaotic war zone. A, Eastern Europe. B, the Gaza Strip. C, Yemen. Or D, a pool party in Texas. Wow.
Say that. Repeat A through
the
C
question.
again?
Okay. A, Eastern Ukraine. B, the Gaza Strip. C, Yemen. Or D, a pool party in Texas.
Let's say Eastern Ukraine.
No.
Nope.
Oh, bummer.
Lindsey Graham weighing in there.
Yeah.
No.
No. Are you going to go for the steal here? Remember, you lose 2 if you get the steal wrong. The score is currently 2-2.
It's Yemen.
It's risky.
Oh!
Got him!
Mr. Waldron, huge steal
That's
right
big.
there.
What a move.
Saudi airstrikes targeted.
Chance on that.
I mean, yeah.
Can we wait for the facts, please? Hold on. Saudi airstrikes targeted the Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in several parts of the country on Tuesday while street fighting erupted elsewhere. Power move from Mr. Waldron. Now the question is for you. James Billington announced this week that he will retire after serving nearly 30 years in what Washington, D.C. position? A, Postmaster General. B, Director of the National Park Service. C, White House chef. Or D, Librarian of Congress.
White House chef.
Incorrect. Mr. Hughes.
So how many questions do we have left here?
This is question 8 of 12. That would be 6 each.
Okay. I'm not going to go for the steal yet.
Oh, all right. Well,
too much game to play here.
Okay. All right. The answer is D, Librarian of Congress. The 86-year-old Billington, a Russia scholar appointed by President Reagan in 1987, has been criticized in recent years for technology failures at the Library of Congress.
An 86-year-old with technology failures.
Who would have thunk it? All right. Waldron, Travis Hughes playing that one closer to the vest. Don't know that was the smart play if you ask me, but that's why I'm not playing. I'm just the host. Radio host Diane Rehm came under fire this week for asking what Jewish interviewee about his non-existent Israeli citizenship. A, Stephen Breyer. B, Mark Zuckerberg. C, Bernie Sanders. Or D, American Pharaoh. That's funny.
Bernie Sanders?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That was huge. Rehm apologized on air, later explaining that the misinformation had come from a Facebook comment. Yikes. All right, Mr. Waldron, here we go. You got a chance to really put this away here. Thousands of people have been quarantined in South Korea this week due to an outbreak of what dire-sounding disease? A, bat flu. B, Middle East respiratory syndrome. C, lymphatic plague, or D, sep bladder?
It's the B, Middle East Respiratory Syndrome.
This is correct. At least 10 people so far have died in the outbreak. The largest ever outside of Saudi Arabia, the MERS virus, as it's known, jumped from camels to humans around 2012. Mr. Hughes, it's looking like you should have gone for the steal. According to a new report, who was in hot water with state officials as recently as last month for refusing to comply with the child welfare probe? A, the Duggar family. B, Ray Rice. C, Dennis Hastert. Or D, Stennis Baratheon.
Could you repeat the question?
According to a new report, who was in hot water with state officials as recently as last month for refusing to comply with a child welfare probe?
The Duggars.
Got him! All right, of
Two
course.
of those were obviously not true.
In a 911 call from May 27th, an Arkansas caseworker requested police assistance after being refused access to a minor in the family. Now, the score is currently 5-4, which means that if you get this wrong and he gets the steal, he could win. Question, final question. On Saturday, the Russian town of Kumaratu aimed for record books by building the world's largest helicopter ever to be made out of what? A, human hair. B, KFC napkins. C, horse meat. Or D, condoms.
You can't build a helicopter out of any of those things.
That's kind of what I thought,
Like,
too.
did it fly?
I don't know the answer to that.
Hair.
Oh, which means we have an opportunity for the win.
No.
Mr. Hughes.
All right,
I will
so-
review the choices.
Yes.
A, human hair. B, KFC napkins. C, horse meat. D, condoms.
Let's go with condoms.
No. Oh, dagger. Okay. Horse meat is a delicacy in the region. The model helicopter constructed out of horse sausage measured over 11 feet long. Alas.
So it's certainly
Wait.
being flop.
Wait for it.
Oh my God.
It's all over. Travis wins.
Of course. All right. When we get back, we're going to talk about actual stuff that both Travises do and stop with these dumb games. So the season series is now at 2-1, Mr. Waldron over Mr. Hughes. That was
Another
fun.
tight one, though.
Thank you, Peter. That was a good one. That was a tight one.
Good production,
Yes.
Peter.
All right. I'm Clinton Yates. This is the Bill Press Show. Travis Waldron's here. Travis Hughes is here. We're talking Sprots when we get back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, friends and neighbors, good show so far. A little time out here for a most important message. And I got one big word for you today. Please, please, please make your pledge to Free Speech TV. Look, we're really frustrated. I'm feeling frustrated because we're toward the end of our pledge drive and just nowhere near the goal where we've got to be. And I know you don't want that to happen. I know you don't want Free Speech TV to run out of gas. We know you love Free Speech TV, but we're not feeling that love, not seeing it. We're just nowhere close to our goal, not hitting the mark. So I ask you to please don't put it off any longer. Step up to the plate, make your pledge as generously as you can to help us meet our goal. Remember, our goal for every show here on the Bill Press Show is $1,500. Hey, that's not that much. Think about it. You know, it's 15 of you. If 15 of you give $100, we're there. 30 of you can give $50, we're there. Or think of it this way, the price of one night out for dinner for the two of you, you got a whole year of the great programming on Free Speech TV. But it really, really is urgent because, once again, you are Free Speech TV. We are, you are, there ain't nobody else. There's no government funding we can count on, no foundation funding, no corporate funding, no Koch brothers funding. It's just the partnership that we've got, and we've really got to keep that going. And we'll try to make it worth your while. Just to give you a little maybe incentive to help us out today. Remember our premiums this time. If for $60, we'll send you this for your one-time pledge of $60. This stamp, not to be used for bribing politicians. You can have a lot of fun with that with your friends. $120 if you help us with that. We'll send you a copy of John Nichols' book, Dollarocracy, about all the evil of money in politics and how we get rid of it. For $240, you get the stamp and the book, and for $360, you get the stamp. Can't be used for bribing politicians. Dollarocracy by John Nichols, and a Free Speech TV baseball cap. If you can help with $1,000, a real special treat, come to Washington, see the monuments, get to the White House, get to the Capitol, and most importantly, Carol and I will take you out to dinner at one of our great restaurants on Capitol Hill, and then invite you in to join the crew the next morning, meet the team, have some district donuts, and enjoy the show. But the most important thing is we need your help to make your pledge as generously as you can. We know not everybody can do all the same, but whatever you can, your one-time pledge for Free Speech TV. Don't be a freeloader. Don't be just a couch potato. If you enjoy the program, and we know you do, then do your share to keep Free Speech TV on the air and keep me and Stephanie Miller and Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Packman and all the rest of the great Free Speech TV hosts in your home every single day. Please help. Please do it today. You know the number, 877-378-8669, or just go to freespeech.org. Please help, and we thank you.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
The most valuable morning radio show, according to The Nation magazine. This is The Bill Press Show.
Well, welcome back to the program. My name is Clinton Yates. I write for The Washington Post. Of course, you just heard another rousing rendition of the game that's just taking over the country month by month. Travis versus Travis. Travis won, per usual. It's up to you to guess who. You should have been listening. In studio with us is Travis Waldron, sports reporter for the Huffington Post, and Travis Hughes, NHL editor for SB Nation. We'll start with you, Mr. Hughes. We're at 2-2 in the Stanley Cup playoff finals. What are we looking at in this series so far in terms of what we've seen versus what we thought we would see and what we think we'll have going forward?
Yeah, so the last couple of years, probably the last 5 years or so, we've gotten a little accustomed to the Western Conference Finals probably being the best series in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And this year it hasn't been the case. And we kind of expected that this year because the Blackhawks and the Ducks were great teams. And the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are the Eastern Conference champions, they're a little young. People don't really know a lot of their players. They play in Tampa, so they don't get respect anyway.
Right.
I don't know any of their players. They have the one dude who scores a lot.
Steven Stamkos, yes. And that's pretty much who anybody knows.
Right.
And they probably have the best second line in hockey, though. I mean, they probably have the best defensive pairing in hockey, and this has been a really great series as a result. People didn't give them the respect. They kind of expected the Blackhawks, who have been experienced. This is their third Stanley Cup final in 6 years. So people expected the Blackhawks to walk all over them, and it hasn't happened. It's been a great series.
The Lightning had home ice. People don't realize, but we're actually Vegas underdogs. How often does that happen?
Well, it's especially since the Lightning were the best home ice team in the league. They won 32 of their 41 home games in the regular season this year. So they're a very good home team. They actually, I think they're 500 at home in the playoffs.
Okay.
So
That's weird.
they haven't been so hot in the postseason at home. But that's extremely rare to be the better team, really, in the series and be the underdog.
Who'd you have in this before the series? My bad. Who'd you have in this before the series?
Chicago, just because of their experience.
Yeah.
I think you kind of expected it to go late, and it looks. It's going to go at least 6, probably 7 in my mind. And you take the more experienced team in a game 7.
And they've both won on each other's home ice, right?
Yep.
All right. Well, on to you, Mr. Waldron. FIFA Women's World Cup, we're dead and smack in the middle of it. We got a USA game tonight. What have you liked so far from what you've seen in the tournament, not just from the Americans, but overall?
Germany.
Germany. They banged out.
I think I said.
Côte d'Ivoire.
I think I said the last time we were all here that despite Vegas again, Germany were the favorites, and I haven't seen anything else from the U.S.
What was that score?
Or from anyone else?
10-0.
10-0. And
sure if they
they
hit double digits.
dominated Norway yesterday.
Norway's good.
Yeah, Norway's not a bad team. And I think at halftime it was like 18 shots to 1.
Wow.
Or something. The Germans are incredible.
18 shots and a half in soccer.
That's a lot. That's a lot of
just
risk,
they're just pummeling. And I think it's so I saw I think it was Thailand last night scored their first ever Women's World Cup goal. It was a nice goal. Ivory Coast scored their first ever Women's World Cup goal last night. It's been kind of fun. Like, they expanded the tournament, so we've gotten teams that haven't been there before.
Yeah.
And it's been kind of fun. But I think obviously what everyone's looking at are the Americans. And good news, they picked up 3 points in the first match. Bad news,
didn't go so well.
They didn't look like Germany.
No.
And if your goal is to win it, then 3 points isn't. You got to get 3, you got to get 3, you got to get 3, but eventually you're probably going to have to beat Germany, and they got to get better if they're going to.
Yeah, I watched that game, and there's a lot of people out there who believe that the Americans' style of soccer is becoming a real problem because they're just knock it up to the front and try to let Wambach get on the head. I actually tend to agree with that because
I do too.
Now the way you see these other nations play, I mean, the U.S. looks like. They just sort of look like behemoths out there running around who don't really know what they're doing in the same way, even though they probably do have the same level of technical skill. They don't play that way.
I think they definitely have technical skill. I think if you look at that Australia match, they had moments that they won because they had moments.
Yeah.
That's good enough for the U.S. against probably every team in the world but a few. But it's not going to be enough for France or Germany or maybe Brazil.
Yeah.
And maybe even Japan again. They're going to have to. They're going to have to solidify some things, but they have talent. They have a chance.
Quickly, what do you think they see tonight?
I think they'll win tonight.
They play Sweden.
I think they'll beat Sweden tonight. I think the worry out of this group for me is Nigeria because of the speed they'll pose to the midfield and the back line. But
all right. Well, Mr. Waldron, thank you for showing up. Travis Waldron, sports reporter for Huffington Post. Mr. Hughes, hockey editor for SB Nation. Thank you all.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm Clinton Yates. These are the Travises. Press Show. We'll be back.
All right, folks, just a little time out. Hope you're enjoying the show today. A little time out here to tell you again and get your about Free Speech TV and get your help. And, we reach out to you, all of our viewers around the country during these pledge drives, ask you to help. And we're so grateful when you do. And it's very rare, though. We get a chance to thank one of you actually in person. So we welcome to the show today and to our studio Craig Tepfer, all the way from Chelsea, Michigan, a regular Free Speech viewer and a very generous contributor to Free Speech. Craig, it's good to see you.
It's good to be here, Bill.
Thank you for coming in all the way from Chelsea, Michigan. I know last year we met because you were made $1,000 pledge. You and your daughter came. Carol and I, we all went out to dinner together. Had a good time. That was a lot of fun.
Had a great time.
Right. And it's good to see you back. So tell us again, why do you really like Free Speech TV?
Free speech to me is the dream come true. It's television without commercials, plain and simple.
Yeah. And you like the people and obviously in the content on Free Speech?
All of the regular programs plus all of the special programs you can't find anyplace else on the television set.
It's the one progressive television channel people don't realize is maybe in the country, right? 24/7, where you can always count on going there and hearing good stuff from a progressive point of view.
This is true. It's 24 hours a day. All of the programs are great to watch, intellectually stimulating, and have great progressive concepts.
Well, we wouldn't be here without people like you, and I want to thank you again personally. And you're back today because you want to make another pledge and challenge people to meet it, right?
That's right. I would like to pledge a half of my net worth, 0.5% of my net worth to match the Koch brothers' donation to the GOP. So I am committing $500.
Great.
To the Free Speech TV, and hope that your listeners can match that.
I think that's a great challenge. All right, so there you go. There's $500 from Craig Tepfer today. You can match that yourself, or a couple of you, 2 or 3 of you, get together, get your family members together, and match this pledge so Craig doesn't feel alone. And we have the help we need on free speech to get going. And, of course, you know the way to do so, Craig, you certainly do, is give us a call at 877-378-8669. Number again, 877-378-8669. Or just go to freespeech.org, freespeech.org. And, Craig, the other thing I want to congratulate you on, you are a pioneer in solar energy. I know you have a solar-powered car right now. So you're doing so many great things. You know,
I've been doing this for most of my life, wind and solar energy, and supporting environmental groups and organizations that promote solar energy.
Well, so good of you to do that, and so good of you to come in. And thanks again for your help for Free Speech TV. And match Craig Tepfer's $500 grant. Thank you, Craig.
It's so important. Thank you.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, welcome back to the program. My name is Clinton Yates. I write for the Washington Post and filling in for Bill Press here on a Friday. In studio with us is political reporter for the Daily Beast, Betsy Woodruff. Good morning, Betsy.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. You can follow her on Twitter at WoodruffBets. She's verified, unlike Peter Ogburn and myself.
I don't want it. I won't take it.
You keep saying that.
No, I don't want. I will not take verification.
Don't believe you.
You know why? Because I'm for the kids.
Right.
I'm real.
You and the American dream.
Yeah,
right?
you sellouts can have your verification. All right.
Keep believing that. So, we're here to talk politics, particularly those who are running for president, one of which happens to be the brother of a guy who's running for president who made what we would like to call some outdated, well, let's say his views on a couple of things are rather outdated. But the world is very different in 1996. I don't know what you were doing in 1996, Peter. You know what I was doing in 1996?
What?
Playing baseball, listening to Wu-Tang Clan. That's what I was doing.
I was playing basketball.
And
listening to Wu-Tang Clan.
Oh, you can still do that.
Yes, that's still an option.
I don't know why that's
These things are timeless.
That's true. That's true. But, Betsy, please take us through this story and what's happened with the comments from Bush way back that are now come back to earth.
Yeah, so in 2001, Jeb Bush neglected to veto Florida legislation that was a big overhaul of the adoption system. And one provision of this legislation was designed, in theory, to keep birth fathers from interfering with the adoption process. So what they thought would make sense was in cases when the adoptive mother, the mother giving up the child, didn't know who the father was, the law required that she run a newspaper ad once a week for a month in all the newspapers of the areas where the conception could have happened, describing herself and describing all her possible fathers, saying where the child could have been conceived as a way of just sort of, making sure that if the dad's out there, that he could track her down and he could say, oh, I don't want you to give the kid up for adoption. So that's a little interesting.
Hold on. Let's stop right there. That's crazy.
Is that nuts?
It's bonkers.
Wow.
Yeah. It's truly remarkable. Now, what Jeb's team says is, when he decided not to veto the legislation, he'd been told by the state senator who sponsored it that after the fact, they'd go back and clean it up and make it not totally insane. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. And maybe, I think it was 2 years later, Bush signed a repeal of it only after the law was facing serious court troubles for being a constitutional violation.
Hold on. So they're trying to have, basically, in the classified sections of various regional newspapers, a Maury show playing right out in front of you. Are you the father?
Yeah.
Letters to the editor.
It's like, when I read that, I was like, that is such an oddly specific, weird kink that someone made up to make women detail their sexual history in public.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, what a horrible thing to put anybody through.
But something that's important about this is that the bill passed overwhelmingly. It passed something like, I think it only lost maybe 6 votes in one chamber of the legislature, passed by a wide margin in the other. It had bipartisan support. So I guess these Florida men were like, make the newspapers more interesting.
Right.
It's cool.
Spice things up. Wow, that's crazy. So, and then there's a situation about his thoughts concerning divorce.
So this is interesting.
Which ended up actually being a two-pronged thing.
There's two sides to this. Yeah. So Democratic operatives a couple days ago started pushing sections of the book that Bush wrote in 1996. This is his book, Profiles in Character, I think is the title. It's basically Bush talking about social ills, how we can make America better. And he has a section in that book where he's very critical of no-fault divorce. He says it's bad for kids, parents are abdicating their responsibilities. And then in an op-ed he wrote shortly after the book came out, he said maybe we should think about making it harder for parents to get divorces. Maybe there should be a year-long cooling off period. So Democrats pushing this story, and some pundits on the left who picked it up said, oh my God, we can't believe how insane Jeb Bush is about no-fault divorce. This guy's totally crazy. What a Neanderthal. The important little thing here, though, is that Hillary Clinton made the exact same argument in her book, It Takes a Village.
Wow.
She said, I'm ambivalent about adding year-long cooling off periods. I think divorce is terrible. She also said, she went further than him in one area. She said, I think it's really great that this one Ohio court treats divorce like a public health problem. So it's funny that Democrats would push that story when Hillary is, just as pure 1996 as Jeb was.
Yeah, they'll swing back.
As somebody who's a child of divorce, I'll say this, getting to the specifics of that law, no-fault divorce is probably oftentimes the best case scenario that can happen. I mean, I'm not trying to get too personal here with this, but like the notion that it needs to be somehow made harder is probably the wrong way to go, that it probably needs to be made easier so that people can like get on with their lives and move on with things. That's just from my personal experience.
It seems to me like it's such a painful time for everybody involved, right? That like, why make it
Why try to
harder?
make it...
And it gets back to, I mean, not to go backwards here, but it gets back to the whole unwed mother thing. Like, can you imagine the life? I mean, we all, everybody listening and in this room, and like, you have an unwed mother in your life somewhere, right? Like, we all know them. And it's one of the hardest things that you could possibly do.
Absolutely.
But to make it that much harder to get that done, just like with a divorce, like, what's the point? What's the rationale behind just like...
I don't know. Dudes always want to they're doing, and it's just another one of those things. Like you said, it's some weird kink, some guy,
I'm telling you.
Issue with it, but
there's some guy that's getting off on this.
My question is, how do you think this affects? I mean, does this become a big story? Does this affect their campaigns in any way? What do you think?
I think it's possible that the Scarlet Letter Law will be a problem for Jeb. Something else that's important is that Rubio actually voted for the Scarlet Letter Law. He was in the legislature at the time. He voted for that adoption legislative overhaul. So, I mean, it could be an issue. I don't know that it's going to come up on the debate stage. I think the divorce thing definitely won't be an issue, only because Hillary's made the exact same comments, and it's not something that's partisan or uniquely ideological. But it's an important reminder that Jeb Bush's political career was incredibly long, and that he's spent 2 decades saying things often about these sort of hot button social issues that could come back to bite him in the butt.
I think that's true.
For every paragraph in one book, there's a bunch other that are just going to be coming out over time. So it's going to be interesting.
Because people want to look at him like, oh yeah, that's just old W's brother. You know what I mean? People forget this guy, like you said, this guy's been in front of microphones for years. And just because at the time when he was in the news, he wasn't saying some of the things that his brother was from as large of a podium, when he tries to step up to that podium, he could find himself in a bit of a proverbial storm dealing with some of that backlash.
And of course, the flip side of this is that Hillary's going to have the same problem.
Yeah.
She gave a floor speech in 2004 where she talked about no-fault divorce and said, and it was part of a debate over a constitutional amendment defining marriage as one man, one woman, banning gay marriage. And this speech is something that Jeb Bush could have given, where she says, I believe one man, one woman marriage is the bedrock of society, and gay marriage is really going to be so bad for America. It's going to be horrible, awful. And also, no-fault divorce is destroying families. Right. And it's like, Hillary's been making speeches like that for a really long time, too. It raises some eyebrows.
Clinton, Bush. This is the battle we all wanted, Peter.
Yeah, right. It's like the Warriors and Cavaliers. This is what we wanted all year. Now we've got it. The more that Jeb Bush goes through this, the more it becomes pretty clear he's just a terrible candidate.
You think so?
I do. I mean, there was a period of like 6 weeks where he stepped in it 3 different times, right? Like the most notable was the Iraq War, whether or not we're better off, or would we have sent troops knowing what we know now? And he just immediately pulled that trigger and said, yeah, absolutely. I think he's terrible. I think he's really terrible.
Well, he hasn't run for office in a really long time.
Right.
Either.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He's pretty rusty.
Which makes you wonder why he's in it at all. I mean, the question is, is this just a vanity ploy for him to make a little bit more cash?
He's making a ton of money.
Is he trying to push out some other candidates that people think can win? Because, I mean, if you think if you're Jeb Bush, like, this is kind of an Eli Manning situation. You know what I mean? You're the third guy along. You know what I mean? You're never going to – I mean, what's he going to do, revolutionize the Oval Office? No. He's just going to always look like a guy that came along because this is sort of the family business, and this is what he had to do. And that's no knock on Eli Manning. I think the guy's a great quarterback, but he always gives me the impression it's like, yeah, all right, well, I play football because, like, my dad and my brother play football, and all right, I'm all right. I'm pretty good. I win a lot. You know what I'm saying? You don't really – it's a kind of a different thing, and I feel like Jeb is kind of in that seat in terms of his intentions to run. I don't know.
I think that's the perception, and whether or not that's the reality, like that affects how people see him, that affects how he runs, that affects the way he's going to roll his campaign out. And yet he hasn't run in a really long time, and he's the wonky brother, right? He's the guy who writes detailed policy books and gets emotional about, social promotion of third graders. Yeah. You watch him on the campaign trail, he's not a Herman Cain character. Oh, right. I know, very extremely close to my heart.
Exactly.
He's not a Herman Cain character, but he's going to spend this entire campaign in the shadow of his brother, and that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't seem like fun.
It doesn't. All right, we're talking to Betsy Woodruff, political reporter for the Daily Beast. When we get back, we will continue to do the same. I'm Clinton Yates. It's the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, friends and neighbors, good show so far. A little time out here for a most important message, and I got one big word for you today. Please, please, please make your pledge to Free Speech TV. Look, we're really frustrated. I'm feeling frustrated because we're toward the end of our pledge drive and just nowhere near the goal where we've got to be. And I know you don't want that to happen. I know you don't want Free Speech TV to run out of gas. We know you love Free Speech TV, but we're not feeling that love, not seeing it. We're just nowhere close to our goal, not hitting the mark. So I ask you to please don't put it off any longer. Step up to the plate, make your pledge as generously as you can to help us meet our goal. Remember, our goal for every show here on the Bill Press Show is $1,500. Hey, that's not that much. Think about it. It's 15 of you. If 15 of you give $100, we're there. 30 of you can give $50, we're there. Or think of it this way, the price of one night out for dinner for the 2 of you, you got a whole year of the great programming on Free Speech TV. But it really, really is urgent because, once again, you are Free Speech TV. We are, you are. There ain't nobody else. There's no government funding we can count on, no foundation funding, no corporate funding, no Koch brothers funding. It's just the partnership that we've got, and we've really got to keep that going. And we'll try to make it worth your while, just to give you a little maybe incentive to help us out today. Remember our premiums this time. If for $60, we'll send you this, for your one-time pledge of $60, this stamp, not to be used for bribing politicians. You can have a lot of fun with that with your friends. $120 can help us with that. We'll send you a copy of John Nichols' book, Dollarocracy, about all the evil of money in politics and how we get rid of it. For $240, you get the stamp and the book, and for $360, you get the stamp. Can't be used for bribing politicians. Dollarocracy by John Nichols, and a Free Speech TV baseball cap. If you can help with $1,000, a real special treat, come to Washington, see the monuments, get to the White House, get to the Capitol, and most importantly, Carol and I will take you out to dinner at one of our great restaurants on Capitol Hill, and then invite you in to join the crew the next morning, meet the team, have some district donuts, and enjoy the show. But the most important thing is we need your help to make your pledge as generously as you can. We know not everybody can do all the same, but whatever you can, your one-time pledge for Free Speech TV,
Don't be a freeloader. Don't be just a couch potato. If you enjoy the program, and we know you do, then do your share to keep Free Speech TV on the air and keep me and Stephanie Miller and Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Packman and all the rest of the great Free Speech TV hosts in your home every single day. Please help. Please do it today. You know the number, 877-378-8669, or just go to freespeech.org. Please help, and we thank you.
Beast, how are you today, Betsy?
Not bad, no complaints. How are you guys?
We're good. So yeah, your boy Lindsey Graham, Peter,
fellow South Carolinian,
fellow South Carolinian,
Southerner,
the jewel of the Palmetto State.
That's it.
One Senator Mark Kirk was talking about the fact that Graham has said that he is going to have a rotating first lady if he's ever in the White House. That sounds weird. It sounds like that's putting like a woman on a spit kind of situation, like a rotating. Like, what does that even mean?
We're gonna roast a woman at the White
or
House.
like, is she gonna be in a like? I don't know.
A rotating first.
I want to know who the possible candidates are. You know, before I cast my vote, I need to know who these potential,
That's true.
in and out first ladies. What the situation is.
It's weird.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go where people think I'm going with this, but like, it's not like Lindsey Graham is one of these single guys who is seen with a lot of women around town.
Right.
So like, what women would even be in the running?
Don't ask me.
I would like to know though.
I
This is important information.
That's absolutely valid.
In the meantime, though, let's hear what Mark Kirk had to say about the matter.
I have a rotating. He's the lady. He's a bro with no hope.
Now let's get to this phrase. Bro, he's a bro with no hose. Now we're in a radio studio.
Mark Kirk is ludicrous all of a sudden.
Right. Like what do you think about this, Betsy?
I've never heard the phrase before. Like, is this a thing kids say?
Well, first of all, Mark Kirk is no kid.
Yeah, right.
So I'm
But
hoping.
I mean, like, did he read this on Twitter or something? Is this like him trying to say "bae" or something? I'm not familiar with the phrase.
I don't
I'm just
know.
confused.
I don't know.
The senator would like to just put it for the record that Lindsey Graham is bae.
Lindsey Graham today on Fleek.
I just also sort of feel like that's such a lame term. Like, if somebody said that to me, like, who was just a normal person, who was a friend of mine, I'd be like, please do not ever utter that phrase in my presence ever again. You sound ridiculous, you know? And this guy's out here whispering it on the dais. Nah, yo.
Senators, just like us.
I know.
Having trouble expressing themselves. It's like the time that McCain was playing internet poker on his phone during a committee hearing.
I'm fine with that.
You know, every once in a while, it's like, these guys are human beings, and they're awkward, and they aren't necessarily good at verbalizing their emotions, and they play games on their phones. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's always interesting.
I don't know. Bro without a hoe. You know some donk is going to have a T-shirt with it. By the weekend.
I'm amazed that doesn't already exist.
By the weekend.
You know that when you go to Ocean City, you're going to see a couple of bros wearing them T-shirts.
Ocean City.
Ocean City.
Can we get an update on the O's?
It has to be tank tops, not
yeah.
No
without
sleeves.
question.
Without a doubt.
Without question. And if it's not a tank top, the sleeves are cut off.
Yeah. So do we think Lindsey Graham has any real shot at anything as a single man getting the nomination?
No. Yeah, it ain't happening.
He has a shot at having fun.
So
he's going to be really entertaining to cover. I'm excited that he's running.
Yeah?
He's
Yeah, that's
relaxed.
true.
He's funny. He says things that are interesting.
He's the guy that you want to have his beat. If you've got to cover a dead-end Republican candidate, he's the guy.
Totally.
That's a very good point. I mean, the thing about Lindsey Graham that's so interesting to me is that he will buck his party on a couple of issues.
Oh, yeah.
And he has mastered the art of saying something not quite controversial, but kind of controversial, right? So it doesn't blow up in his face.
Right.
That would be a fun beat.
All right. Well,
those rotating first ladies.
Yo, I mean, it's like I'm imagining like on Say Yes to the Dress, where there's like a lady standing on the thing and you're going around. You know what I'm saying? Like rotating that. Like that's just what I think of when I think of a rotating human. I'm like, what does that even mean? Anyway,
get up on that pedestal.
Yeah.
If the first reporter who gets a sit down with Lindsey Graham doesn't ask him top 3 rotating first ladies, they should just be shot.
That's the only question that matters. That's the only thing I care about. That's all I want to know.
It's about integrity.
Anyway, all right. Betsy, thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks for having
Betsy
me.
Woodruff, she's a political reporter for the Daily Beast. I'm Clinton Yates. We're going to wrap things up here on the show. Peter's kids are chiming in on their thoughts on the
Kids are
program.
texting me about your show, man.
That's cool, though. They're listening.
Yeah.
Is their favorite radio personality?
They like when you host.
Clinton Yates?
Yeah. You're big with 7 and 10-year-olds.
That's cool. I'm down with that. I was a camp counselor.
I think they follow you on Twitter.
Kids
They're
like
both on
me.
Twitter.
Very well. All right, enough of that. When we get back, we'll talk more about what we're going to do this weekend. I'm Clinton Yates. It's the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
What gets you into college? Good SAT scores? High GPA? Lots of extracurriculars?
Sure, but what you really need is money.
If you don't have the cash, you'll need a loan.
And we mean huge student loans because the cost of college has risen 1,000% in the last 30 years.
This means big money for the banks that collect fees and interest.
Now, millions of young people are starting their adult lives with an average of $29,000 of loans on their backs.
Altogether, we're talking $1.2 trillion in student debt.
And more people are finding it impossible to pay them back. Welcome to the student debt crisis.
The increasing demand for higher education and cuts to state funding gave colleges a huge incentive to keep inflating prices.
I graduated about a year ago, currently in $35,000 of debt.
I am in debt about like $25,000.
I owe $23,000.
I owe over $50,000 in student loans.
38.8 million Americans owe money on a student loan. And the biggest names in banking are making huge profits off the booming student loan industry. Sallie Mae, the largest provider of private student loans, made $949 million last year.
They only give you about 6 months to look for a job. You have to start paying back the loan. It's very pressuring, especially nowadays. It's very hard to find a job.
Over half of the students graduating in 2012 could not find a decent paying job.
They either had low-wage jobs or unpaid internships or were unemployed altogether.
So you can't make the payments. You start incurring late fees, which makes the loan even harder to pay off.
And it stays with you for years, even decades.
Right now, a third of the people who started repaying their loans are delinquent or in default.
That's 13.7 million people, more than the populations of Chicago, New York, and San Francisco combined.
Worse, it's not just the borrowers who are in trouble. Many loans require co-signers.
So if the student is unable to pay, that co-signer, a father, a mother, or a grandparent, is now on the hook.
Even a grandparent's Social Security benefits can be garnished to pay the loan.
We should have an answer to this. If you get really behind in your car payment or your credit cards, you can file for bankruptcy.
But Congress has made it nearly impossible to discharge student loans through bankruptcy.
Big institutions make big profits while students try to make ends meet under crushing debt.
Is this how we want our education system to work?
The whole point of going to college is to get the career you want, but lately that's been discouraged because no one can afford school. You get a job just to pay off your student loans.
We need higher education, not higher debt.
Sign up to end the student debt crisis at higherednotdebt.org.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, coming down the home stretch here. I'm Clinton Yates. I write for the Washington Post. Weekend plans. Well, actually, let's go over who joined us today.
Yeah.
We want to go over who didn't join us today, but that's a separate story that I'll handle later. George Zornick, Washington editor for The Nation, came in. We talked trade stuff. That was fun. Congressman Dan Kildee from Michigan came in. We talked more trade stuff as well, and he played in the congressional baseball game that you, Jamie, and I attended last night at Nats Park.
Yeah.
Of course, we had another rousing rendition. I mean, look, I will stop doing the game when you people stop asking me for it. But unfortunately, the demand is so high. I mean, I get emails from guys named Travis across the globe who can relate to this game. Belgium, Zimbabwe, Guam. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, look, I would love to stop it, but I just can't. The demand is too high. The people want it too much. Travis Hughes and Travis Waldron, of course, came in. Travis won. Betsy Woodruff
Best
from the
edition
Daily.
of the game yet.
Yeah,
Best edition of the game.
Absolutely.
That was down to the wire.
Thank you for the production values on that. That was great, Peter. Betsy Woodruff from the Daily Beast came in, and we talked about GOP political candidates. Now it's time for what to do this weekend. I will be coaching in a Little League playoff game.
There you go.
It's very important stuff.
Yeah.
Got to put the lineup together later today. Very pumped about this. What are you up to, Peter?
We're going to see Jurassic World later on today with the kiddos. By the way, we talked about this last hour about whether or not we would actually go to a real Jurassic Park or Jurassic World where the dinosaurs exist. And I was a little hesitant, but I got a text from young Magnus Ogburn, my 7-year-old, who said, dude, tell Clinton I would totally go to a real Jurassic Park.
Right. He has a sense for adventure.
Yeah.
That was clearly not instilled in him by his father. My question is, though, would you go? Like, let's say there was a school field trip. Is that one you would chaperone? Or would you bow out of that one? Would you go to potentially protect your kid?
I've turned on this a little bit. I think I would go.
Yeah.
I think I would go.
I
think I would go to a Jurassic World. My hesitation is getting that close, like inside their habitat. Like I'm good observing their habitat. I don't need to get into it, which is what happens in this movie. Apparently,
this is true.
That's
this
my
is true.
hesitation, but
It is also Pride Parade weekend in D.C., so there's going to be a lot of fun events. I always like that weekend. It's one of the more joyous times of year where people can actually, party and let their hair down. It's come a long way since it started over about 40 years ago, I believe. It started in D.C. on a small block in DuPont Circle. The guy who started the bookstore Lambda Rising, if you remember that, for gay literature and other novels, he started that.
Oh, wow.
And 40-year anniversary was actually on Father's Day in 1975, and it's since moved, around. So looking forward to that. Should be a lot of fun in the district for those celebrating who they are and, what they choose to do. So that's always good. For Peter, for Elisa, for Jamie, for Cyprian, I'm Clinton. I want to thank you all very much once again for letting me host the show and be a part of it. And thanks again to Bill. After all, it is his show. Have a good weekend. Safety first.
This is the Bill Press Show.